24-year-old administrative assistant Allison Sherry is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old carpenter Alex Shearer, for breaking a lease, breaking a PlayStation, and stealing a ring.
Yeah, this is case number 574 on the calendar in the matter of Sherry versus Shearer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Sherry, the defendant was your boyfriend and you lived together for a period of time. It is your claim that he moved out before a lease that you had both signed was up. You want him to pay his half of the rent for the duration of the lease.
Yes.
You want him to pay for certain personal property that he took, a ring of yours, that he broke your son's PlayStation. You want him to pay for that.
Yes.
In general, you're just not happy with him.
Right.
Mr. Shearer says that he couldn't live with you, that you made living there unbearable for him. It got to be violent. And he did, in fact, take a ring that I think belongs to you. But he said he took it because you took it off after an argument, and he said you didn't want it anymore, so he took it. As far as the PlayStation is concerned, Mr. Shearer says that he broke that by accident, but you stepped on his model plane on purpose, and it was much more important and had sentimental value to him, and the PlayStation didn't have sentimental value to you, so you're even. Sounds like a very mature relationship. How old is your son?
6.
Not Mr. Shearer's child.
No.
How long have you and Mr. Shearer been an item?
It would be a year in April.
When did you move in together?
We moved together in New York for the first time at the end of last year.
So you knew him a couple of weeks before you moved in together?
Yes. And we decided to move down to North Carolina in November of 2004.
And that's when you signed the lease?
Yes.
What was your arrangement with regard to the rent?
We were both responsible for half of everything.
Is that the arrangement?
We didn't have any arrangement, basically. You know, we had both signed the lease that we both agreed to, but as far as who was going to pay for what, there was nothing, you know, we didn't have any type of agreement, basically.
Well, how was the rent paid when you were living in New York?
She paid the rent, but I gave her money every week.
How did you do that?
At the end of the week when I got paid, I just gave her cash.
How much cash did you give her?
Between $100 and $200 a week.
Is that right?
Yes.
And is that what happened when you moved down in November?
No. When we moved down in November, we took our money, we put it together, and we got into the house. We didn't...
Okay, just a second. So you each had a savings account?
No, we were both working.
So you had a checking account, and each of you put your money in a pot?
No, we had cash.
Just well, what do you do for a living?
I'm an administrative assistant for a flooring company.
So you get paid by check?
Yes.
And you?
I'm in construction.
You get paid by check as well?
No, I get paid in cash.
What kind of construction are you in, sir?
General contracting, interior finishing work.
You do file tax returns, don't you?
Yes.
What happened when you moved out, sir, and what date was that?
I'm not sure exactly what the date was.
Maybe you know.
February 18th.
So you lived there November, December,
I'm
January.
sorry, we got into a fight on the 18th. He moved out on the 20th.
So you lived there for 3 months?
Yes.
And how was the money handled from November until February? The beginning?
In November, we were staying at my uncle's house. We stayed there until February. We signed the lease in February.
Well, so you were only there for a couple of weeks?
Yes.
Well, what happened on February 18th?
We got into an argument. I had gotten a phone call from an old friend who I hadn't talked to in a long time. Alexander got very mad, very angry, was slamming doors. I went in to talk to him. He didn't want to talk to me. We just started arguing about everything, and he started running through the house and breaking things.
Did you break anything?
Yes, I did.
What did you break?
He was running through the house. He went in my son's room, and he was looking for something that he couldn't find. He was destroying the room.
What was he looking for?
I don't know.
So what did you do?
So I told him if he did not stop destroying my son's room, I was going to go and break his plane because he was destroying the room.
What do you mean destroying the room? Explain that to me.
Ripping things apart, ripping things out of the closet, moving everything around.
But not breaking anything?
No.
He didn't break anything?
No.
So you told him if he didn't stop acting a little bit crazy, you were going to break something?
Yes.
And what did you choose to break?
His airplane.
Now, why did you choose to break his airplane,
Because
Ms.
it's the
Sherry?
only thing he cares about.
Why is it the only thing he cares about?
He's infatuated with helicopters and airplanes.
Who made it?
I guess he did.
Is that right?
Yes.
How big was it?
It had a wingspan of 53 inches.
So that's a pretty big plane. Where was it kept?
Normally I'd keep it in the house, but she didn't want me keeping it in the house. She said it had to stay in the garage, so that's where it was.
How did you break it?
I stepped on it.
And you stepped on it because it's the only thing you cared about?
Yes.
Nice. And 2 days later, he moved out.
Yes.
Doesn't sound to me as if you were the kind of lady I'd like to live with.
He's not the easiest person to live with either.
That's fine. Then he should move out.
I understand that, but we moved into the place, we signed a lease, we were both responsible. The only reason we moved to North Carolina was so that we could be together. I didn't even want to move down there.
Listen, when you have an argument, if what you did was you chose to destroy the only thing that he values, which is what you told me. I chose to go in and to destroy the only thing that Mr. Sierra cares about. You chose to destroy?
Your Honor, he was destroying my son's room.
No, he wasn't. He was pulling things apart.
No, he was
just
ripping
listen to
the
me.
room apart.
Listen to me. I asked you specifically. I said, did he break anything? He said no. But I told him to stop because he was acting nutty. And if he didn't, I was going to go and destroy the only thing that was valuable to him. So you did it. So you're living in the house. You're living by yourself. Sounds perfect to me. Did you sign off on the lease?
No, I haven't.
Well, I would if I were you, sir, because if she doesn't pay the rent, they're going to come after you.
Right.
What was the rent?
It was about $975 a month.
What was the
$925.
What?
$925.
And what was your rent in New York?
$1,200.
Well, so if you could afford $1,200 in New York, you can afford $925 in Carolina. All right, so let's move on from the rent. Now you heard my answer, madam. You know, there are consequences to people's actions.
I understand
the consequence to your action, there is a consequence to your action.
I understand that. Is there a consequence to his action? I have a police report against him.
Listen to me I don't care what you have. I'm taking evidence now. There is a consequence to your actions. If you choose to move out of this apartment, and if the landlord chooses to go against you and or the defendant for the rent, that's a whole different story. But what you want is you want him to pay half the rent while you're living there. And I'm telling you that I believe that he had not only the right, but in addition to having the right, he exercised good judgment in moving out when you chose during the course of an argument to destroy the only thing that you say he valued. And I'm saying before this escalated into violence, and violence would have been perpetrated in the presence of your 6-year-old son, he exercised good judgment in moving out, and you pay the rent. Now we're moving on to the PlayStation.
He did put his hands on me in front of my son. I have the pictures, I have the proof, the document, and everything.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who caused the accident?
I caused the accident.
Then you pay for it.
I didn't do it deliberately. It was an accident.
I don't give a rat's behind whether you did it deliberately or in your sleep.
And later today,
She come flying over the hill, and she come hit me, knocked me into the ditch.
And you think he's responsible for that?
I don't think he should have been out blowing leaves off his driveway at 9 o'clock at night.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Allison Cherry says ex-boyfriend Alex Shearer owes for breaking a lease, breaking a PlayStation, and stealing a ring. Alex says he moved out after Allison smashed his model airplane.
You broke the PlayStation.
Yes.
You have to pay for that.
It was an accident. I didn't do it.
If it's an accident,
right,
Mr. Sierra, during the course of this whole thing, somebody has to pay for it.
Exactly. Yes.
Who caused the accident?
I caused the accident.
Then you pay for it.
She's not paying for my airplane.
She's stuck with the whole rent.
Because she decided to stay there, though. She could have left, and
I could not leave. They would not let me out of the lease.
Just a second.
If
Just a second, Mr. Sierra. Did you hear what I said, sir? You broke the kid's PlayStation. You're going to pay for it.
I didn't do it deliberately. It was an accident.
I don't give a rat's behind whether you did it deliberately or in your sleep. And if you had a counterclaim with regard to the airplane, I would entertain it. But you don't. How much was the PlayStation?
$150.
Now, where's the ring you took?
It's in New York.
What's it doing in New York?
I bought the ring for her because she had told me that she wanted it. She had always worn it. She likes her rings and always wears them at all times. The only time she ever takes them off is when she goes to sleep. When we were fighting, she took it off and she put it on the counter in the bathroom, as if to say that she didn't want anything to do with me anymore. So as I was leaving, I decided that she didn't want it anymore, obviously, because she took it off. So if she didn't want it, I would take it.
Well, you can't do that, Mr. Sierra. Once you make a gift, She could do whatever she wants with it. She wants to take it, she wants to bury it in the backyard, put a tombstone over it. That's her prerogative. You understand?
Yes.
She wants to make that a symbol of you, the demise of your relationship. She can do that. It's not up to you to determine what you're going to do with a gift that you've given that you have no control over anymore.
Okay.
So, you have to return the ring to her. 5 days from today, she's to get it back. Clear?
Yes.
Perfect. Anything else we have to discuss?
Electric bills from when he was there and when we were staying at my uncle's house.
I'm not interested in that. You get your ring and your son's PlayStation. The other stuff is nonsense.
We were responsible for the electric bill at my uncle's and also in the new house. So he's not responsible for any of his bills?
He's not responsible for anything, madam, for the 2 weeks that he was living in the apartment.
What about the 3 months we were living at my uncle's house?
I'm not hearing it. Get over it. It's over. You get your ring back, and he had no right to break your son's PlayStation. And you had no right to destroy his property.
And he had no right to take my phone, so I couldn't call anybody to come into the house, and he had no right to leave
All right, the
marks on my
following
body.
is the judgment of the court. The plaintiff gets $150 for the PlayStation and her ring back in 5 days. Thank you very much. Have a happy life.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It had been building up and got out of hand, basically.
He should have had to pay for what he did. Instead, he gets to run home to daddy and do nothing.
She made it a point that I couldn't have any of my ex-girlfriends calling me.
He was just jealous over anybody that talked to me.
We were both jealous people, and, you know, it just, one thing led to another, and it escalated to the point in which it did.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Petero versus Galasso. Step forward.
Shipper Terry Petero and his daughter, 17-year-old Melinda, are suing painter Angelo Galasso for damage to a Buick Skylark. Terry says Angelo's leaf blower ran into the vehicle while Melinda was driving it. Angelo is countersuing for damage to the leaf blower and pain and suffering.
Mr. Petero, you and your daughter live in the same neighborhood as Mr. Galasso, I assume.
No, actually, we don't, Your Honor. I live in Hillsborough. She was visiting her aunt at the time.
I see. So she wasn't near her home.
No.
It is your claim that your daughter was driving. She hit Mr. Galasso and his leaf blower. He was crossing the street.
Yes, ma'am.
And you want him to pay for the damage to your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Interesting. Mr. Galasso says that's sort of ridiculous. He was injured. His leaf blower was destroyed. He just thanked his lucky stars that he wasn't killed, which is why he didn't sue you and your daughter. But since you decided to sue him, he's got a counterclaim for the injuries he sustained and the cost of the leaf blower.
Yes, Your Honor.
On what date did this occur?
It was December 12th.
And what time of the evening was it?
It was 9 o'clock at night.
So you tell me what happened, Melinda.
I pulled out of my aunt's road. It was actually her road that I was coming off of. And I got on the road, started going, and I came up over this little dip, and I have pictures.
So you were on a hill?
Yes.
So you couldn't see the other side?
No.
And what happened when you came over the other side?
I got hit by something. I had no clue what it was.
You got hit?
I got hit.
You got hit or you hit something?
It hit the side of my car. At the point, I had no clue what it was, you know.
You have a picture of your car?
Yes. I have a picture of the car and the road where it happened.
Good. Let me see. Is this the road you're talking about?
Yes.
You were traveling here, and so you had no view of what was coming across the road.
Yes.
And you could not see what was below you.
Yes.
And what was below you was a pedestrian crossing the road.
Yes.
Yes. So what happened?
I got hit by something. Like I said, I had no clue what it was at the time. It was 9 o'clock at night, dark.
How fast were you going?
I don't even think I was doing the speed limit by then.
Well, what's the speed limit?
It's 45.
So you think maybe you were doing 35 miles an hour?
Yeah, maybe.
You want to tell me what happened, Mr. Galasso?
Yes, I was out there blowing leaves, and I was blowing the leaves, and all of a sudden she come flying over the hill, and she come hit me and knocked me into the ditch, and knocked my blower across the road, too. I got pictures of the road, where I landed.
Now, you saw Mr. Galasso being thrown across the road when you finally stopped your car?
I stopped, and I mean, I didn't see anything fly across the road.
Where did you see Mr. Galasso?
He was over on the other side of the road.
Was he on the ground?
Yes.
How do you think he got on the ground?
He was hit by the leaf blower that hit my car, which threw him across the road.
And you think he's responsible for that?
I don't think he should have been out blowing leaves off his driveway at 9 o'clock at night.
Is this what you encouraged, sir? You encouraged her to pursue this lawsuit?
Actually, it was my idea, Your Honor.
It was your idea. I wondered.
If you look at the car was set on the left side of the thing. He's saying he was blowing it off his driveway.
I don't care. Listen to me very carefully, sir. Because the state says that the speed limit is 45 miles an hour. If you choose to go around the speed limit into an area that you can't see, and you hit a pedestrian, which your daughter did, the pedestrian happened to be attached to a leaf blower, but bottom line, she hit a pedestrian because if she were going 5 miles an hour into an area that she couldn't see, she wouldn't have hit him. But she wasn't. She was going fast into an area where she had a blind spot, and that's her fault. Her fault. Not his fault. Her fault.
I'm just saying that he said he was blowing leaves in his driveway. If you look at the car, the damage that when he hit her, he was in the middle of the road. He could have seen her car coming over. He was trying to get across that road.
He saw her car coming over. Is that what you're saying to me? She couldn't see him, but he had a periscope. And he could see her coming over, and according to your daughter, and he had no right to be blowing leaves at 9 o'clock at night anyway. The apple don't fall far from the tree. You have no case against him. Now, but since you decided to pursue this matter, Mr. Galasso, who otherwise would not have pursued this matter against you, says he was out of work, he was injured, he ruined his leaf blower, all because she was going too fast to an area that she couldn't see. So, was the leaf blower destroyed, Mr. Galasso?
Yes, Your Honor. I have pictures of it.
I'd like to see them.
And I have the replacement and a little brochure on them.
What about you, Mr. Galasso? How do you feel?
I feel like she shouldn't have sued me. After she hit me.
You were willing to let it go?
Yes, I wasn't going to sue her.
Did you have to replace the leaf blower?
I haven't replaced it yet, but I have a replacement.
Does it still work?
It's totaled.
And what about your physical condition, Mr. Galasso?
The only thing I got out of it, I was blessed. I only got a little thing on my knee, just a little indentation where the blower hit it. And then my elbow was hurt, but it's better now.
Were you out of work?
Yes, I was out of work for about a week and a half.
What kind of work do you do?
I paint lines on the highway.
How much do you earn a week?
$800 a week.
You owe him $2,551. Judgment on the counterclaim. Your claim is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you. Thanks, Your Honor.
Step out. Out the back, go to your right, please. Now, this is case number 595 on the calendar in the matter of Gaskins versus Schutz. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Gaskins, this is your mom? Is that right? You have 2 children?
Yes, I do.
How old are they?
Brittany's 11 and Haley's 9.
How many years did your children live with your mother alone?
None.
Is that right?
No, it's not.
Well, you seem to indicate that your mother took the children at one point. I mean, you say in your petition that you kidnapped your children, which means that for a period of time the children lived with her.
She filed a protection order.
I asked you a very simple question. You say the children never lived with your mother without you being there. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I did say that.
Did the children ever live with you without your daughter being present?
Yes, they did.
For how long?
Probably for about 5 years of their life.
From when to when?
And that's not true.
I would say Brittany was probably 6 months old till about the age of 5.
Where was your daughter?
She's lived with 4 or 5 different boyfriends on and off throughout the period of time, and left the children there.
Left the children where?
The children stayed at my house.
And I've always lived there. It was my physical residence. I have proof of that.
All right. Your complaint, Ms. Gaskins, against your mother is twofold. First, that she has harassed you, and the nature of her harassment has been that she has called Child Protective Services complaining about your care of the children on I don't know how many occasions.
23 times.
And the second thing is that after you moved out of her house with your children, she refused to let you take property. So let's hear about what you perceive to be your mother's harassment by calling Child Protective Services.
You want to hear about it or you want to see it?
Well, I'll take a look at them first.
Okay. It all started December 7th is when she made the report. Is because she wanted to gain custody of my children.
December 7th of what?
2000.
Okay. Let me see that report. That's when it started.
And she also made my children lie and say that I duct taped it.
Who's Lionel?
That's my ex-husband.
Is he the father of these two children?
Yes, he is.
Do the children see their father?
Yeah, they do every other weekend.
Does he support them?
He pays $214.30 a month.
Who else supports them?
It's me and my fiance.
Do you work?
Do I work? No.
That's my question.
Yeah, I work.
For whom?
I work for MedPen.
What do you do for them?
I sell diabetic shoes, and I'm also a cosmetologist.
You weren't working at the time of this report, is that correct?
To pursue legal custody of the kid.
Legal custody of the children? Mm-hmm. Who had the children been living with?
I was living there, and she filled out a protection order. The police came and removed me from the house because she said I duct tape my kids.
Why would she say that?
Because she wants to gain custody of my children so she can obtain child support.
$216?
It was $450 at the time.
So what you're telling me is you lived with your mom, according to you, and your children continuously until 2000. And in 2000, something happened with your mother so that she wanted to gain custody of the children after all that time to get your child support of $400 a month. So she made up a story about you abusing your kids in order to have the courts give her custody.
Yes.
That's pretty serious.
The girls recanted their story.
What?
The girls recanted their story. It's in that proof that I gave.
I see that the girls recanted their story, but they initially told their story about maltreatment by you. Okay. What was the next report that your mother made? This was 2001, so this was a year later. Now, you were living with your children alone at that time?
No, I wasn't living alone. I lived with my boyfriend.
But you weren't living at your mother's house?
No.
Well, what was the new allegation in this petition?
I'd have to see it.
Here.
Kids complaining they weren't getting enough sleep at night because adults fighting, cigarette smoke burns the children's eyes and throat. It says adults are drug users and mom is mean to them. Anything she can.
Did you call in this report, by the way?
I don't know if I called that one particular.
Well, I'm talking about only this one.
I've called twice.
You called in the first one?
I don't know.
The first one had to do with the duct taping of the children?
No.
You did not call that one in.
I have proof right here where she had took a protection order against me and signed it and wrote the allegations out.
That doesn't mean that she called Child Protective Services. Did you or did you not call Child Protective Services about the duct tape incident?
No.
No. Okay. And you say you have proof that she did. Let me see it. Duct taping the children's mouths shut and hitting them. She doesn't say that she called Protective Services.
That's the protection order that she took out against me.
She doesn't say that she called Protective Services. She makes the same allegations, or some of them, that are made in this report, but she specifically says here that she herself did not see this, and nowhere did she say that she called Protective Services rather than a school official or a teacher or someone else the children reported to.
In the CPS report, it says my grandma made me say that, or she will smack me with a wooden spoon.
Listen to me very carefully. The only question that I asked your mother was, did you call in this report? And she says she did not. And you said she's lying. She did, because she took out a protective order that says she called Protective Services.
Well,
it doesn't say that she called Protective Services, madam.
But it says that I duct taped my kids to a bedpost.
That is correct, but so did your children. And they didn't report it to your mother. They reported it to other people.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It says she duct taped the girls to the bed. They were screaming, so she duct taped their mouths.
You have to demonstrate to me that she placed that call.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chrissy Gaskin says her mother, Connie Schutz, has harassed her by making over 20 calls to Child Protective Services. Connie claims on one occasion, Chrissy duct taped her children to a bedpost.
All right, you said you called Child Protective Services 2 times.
Right.
In what years did you call Protective Services?
I believe it was 98.
And I live there still.
Good. About what allegations?
Drinking in the house and not going to bed on time and being tired for school.
Well, why would you call Protective Services? You were living in the house with her.
No, that's when she left and she took the kids to live with Jay.
Both times were in 1998?
No, I only called CPS one time, but then I called the Board of Education.
When was that?
I believe the Board of Education was approximately, I think, 2002.
And why did you call the Board of Ed in 2002?
The girls weren't going to school.
How did you know that?
I do daycare, and some of the kids I babysat for were in the girls' class, and I couldn't see the girls because I've only assigned certain days and certain months to see them. So I always say, how's Brittany today, or how's Haley? I ask about them every day. And I said, just make sure you tell them that Grandma loves them, misses them. And they said, well, Connie, Brittany and Haley wasn't at school today. The next day, they weren't at school. And so as I asked the kids I watched, they said they weren't at school again.
Gotcha. So that's when you called the Board of Ed.
Right.
Other than those times, have you ever called Child Protective Services about your daughter?
No.
Did you ever call anyone indicating that she was driving around with a suspended driver's license?
Yes.
Okay. Who did you call indicating that she was driving around with a suspended driver's license?
The Vienna Police Department.
When did you call the police department?
It was on 4/18.
What year?
Of 04.
Ms. Gaskins, were you in fact driving with a suspended license in April of 2004?
I did not know they were suspended.
That's not my question.
Yes, I was. I have a cassette tape of the 911 where she had called in.
She says she called in, Colin.
Yeah, but it's, if you just hear her, how she refers to me.
Go ahead.
Central Communications.
I'm trying to get hold of the Vienna Police Department. Do you know how I get hold of them?
What do you need?
Well, I have this girl that wants to harass me all the time, and she's driving on second offense suspended license, and she's harassing me all the time. And I know it's a known fact that she has no license, no insurance, and she's up here at the mall. So I needed an officer to talk to me so maybe they can catch her when she pulls out. We'll just see.
Where are you at?
I'm looking at her car at Grand Central Mall right now.
Okay, where are you at on the mall lot? The big line.
It also states in there that they were suspended since last Friday, and I wasn't living with her for a whole year.
Your driver's license was suspended for not taking care of previous citations.
Yeah, which
what
the
kind
mail
of
came to her house.
What kind of citations?
A speeding ticket.
Well, that's one citation.
Okay, and another speeding ticket.
So you had 2 speeding tickets, and
Yeah.
your license was suspended because you didn't pay the tickets or you didn't respond to them?
No, I didn't get the papers because she received the mail and didn't give me those, and then that's when she called the cops.
Did you do that?
No, not at all.
She wasn't speeding for you. She didn't keep
No,
her
she
foot on
wasn't.
the pedal, did she?
No, she wasn't. No,
That was your fault.
that was my fault.
Ms. Gaskins.
I have a ticket here you might want to look at, too.
Sure. You had a DUI.
Yes, I have. I lived with her at the time.
Well, this was in '98. You were living with Jay.
No, I was not. I was living at my mom's house until December 12th, 2000.
She never had her address from her mail changed. Her mail always came to my house no matter where she
And
lived.
why would I want my mail at her house?
And she moved in and out like 10 times.
Okay. So listen to me very carefully, Ms. Gaskins. I have your mother acknowledging that she called in 1998, Child Protective Services.
Yes.
And this is when, according to your mother, you were living out of the home. I have your mother acknowledging that she called the Board of Education on or about 2002 because she believed that the children weren't going to school
Does she have
regularly.
proof?
And she called the police department 4/18/04 to advise them that you were driving on a suspended license. Do you have any follow-up on the report that she made to the Board of Education in 2002 about your children going to school?
My kids went to school. I have report cards.
No.
I have report. My
Listen
kids.
to me. Listen to me very carefully.
Okay.
Do you have the children's report cards from 2002 that show their attendance?
The only report cards that I brought with me were ones from 04 to 05.
I need 2002. Your mother says that the children weren't going to school. It was reported to her.
Does she have proof of that?
Listen to me.
I have all this
Very
proof.
carefully. She doesn't have to prove that it's true, madam. You have to demonstrate to me that she embarked on a course of conduct that was frivolous and harassing. So far, you haven't shown me one report that she made to Child Protective Services. Not one.
I can show you that.
Show me.
Okay, right here.
Okay, tell me about it, and then you'll show it to me.
I highlighted it here, and it says, Chrissy was invited, but threw a fit. It was on Mother's Day is when she wanted to take my kids out to eat. And I said, no, it's Mother's Day. I want to spend time with my children. It's Mother's Day. It says, Chrissy was invited but threw a fit. She duct taped the girls by their hands and their feet to the bed. They were screaming, so she duct taped their mouths. And then it also states grandparents broke down the door.
First of all, whether it's true or not, I don't know. You have to demonstrate to me that she placed that call.
Exactly.
Now, you said you had 23 instances where your mother called Child Protective Services, and I only have so much time today.
No CPS reports were made when I was living in her house. As soon as I moved out and I gained custody of my children is when all these reports started.
Correct.
Is because she wanted to gain custody. I would never do anything to hurt my kids. The duct taping incident, they recanted their story. Grandparents broke the door down.
We did.
And now she's saying it happened.
Maybe you did.
It did not happen.
Okay.
The girls recanted their
listen
story.
to me. I know that the girls recanted their story. I read the report, but the girls initially said it was true. Listen to me very carefully. You have the burden of proof to demonstrate to me that she engaged in a course of conduct over a period of time, over allegations that were not true, that she knew were not true, in order to harm you. And so far, you can't sustain that burden.
She closed out my checking account. I've had 23 mysterious...
Just a second. Did you close out her checking account?
Yes, I did.
When and why?
I don't remember the exact date, but why is because my name, it was on the checks, it says Chrissy Gaskins or Connie Schutz.
Is that correct?
On the account, it said Chrissy or Connie.
Right.
But on my personal checks, I put her name on there just in case the girls needed anything.
Just a second.
She could write a check.
Oh, my gosh.
Listen to me very carefully. This was a joint account. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Are you claiming that you took your money out of there?
She took my money out of it. Yeah.
How much money did she take of yours?
It's $12,378.34.
Where did you get $12,000 from?
My oldest daughter, Brittany, she was identical twin, and I lost one at birth, and I've had a settlement.
Go ahead.
I don't know anything about no $12,000, but she had a bunch of overdrafts kept coming. So I said, that's it, I'm done. I closed the account out.
Did you take any money out of the account?
There was never any in there.
Okay, so what you have to show me now, Chrissy, is a check cut to your mother for $12,378. This was a CD, time certificate of deposit. This isn't a checking account, this is a CD.
It was a CD, and what she did was she had the CD on my ex-husband's car loan to secure it so he could drive the car. And she closed out my checking account, she paid the car off, and then cashed it in for $4,100.
She paid off the car?
She paid off the car, and then she had the car towed.
There was a cashier's check that was issued for $4,186.27.
Correct.
What is that for?
That was out of the money that was in an account to pay off Lionel's car that was secured against Lionel's car.
No, that was $8,192.07.
Right.
What did you do with the $4,186.27?
Lionel has it. I don't have it.
She just gave it to Lionel.
Gee, I can't figure this out. It's not part of your lawsuit, so I'm really glad I don't have to figure it out. But it seems clear to me, Ms. Schutz, that the $8,000 was used to pay off a loan.
Right.
$4,000 was left.
Right.
You say you gave the money to Lionel. I haven't a clue why you would give the money to Lionel, but certainly you acknowledge that it's your daughter's money.
Right.
Okay. What else do you want to tell me, Ms. Gaskins?
What else? Okay.
What you're complaining about with your mother is twofold. One, that she has engaged in a course of conduct to harass you, which you have been unable to sustain in a court. You may feel that way.
Can I show you one more thing?
The second thing that you allege is that your mother has property that belongs to you and or your children. What items do you claim that your mother retained that belonged to you?
She kept all my summer clothes. I got the girls' bunk beds back, but she didn't give me any of the bolts. My work belongings that were there, like a laptop, she kept. I have scissors since I'm a cosmetologist that I paid $250 for.
Just a second. Let's start with the laptop. You have a receipt for a laptop computer?
I didn't purchase it. It was owned by Barnum Beauty Supplies. I was working for them.
Did she leave a computer at your house?
Yes, she did.
Where is it?
I called Barnum's Beauty Supplies. They contacted me, left a message on my answering machine, said that they was trying to get a hold of Chrissy. She will not return
Did
the calls.
you return the computer to them?
Barnum's, yes, ma'am.
I also have scissors that I paid for, $250 worth of scissors. I had...
Chrissy, it's very sad. I'm not going to be able to fix this very sick pathology that exists between you and your mother. Try to let there be peace for the sake of your children. There was clearly a period of time, Miss Gaskins, when you needed some sort of support from your mother, a home to go to when you were separated from your husband. You say no, but according to you, you and your children lived there until 2004.
She said that she needed the money to live there. She didn't work. She got paid underneath the table for babysitting. She needed money.
Miss Gaskins, grow up. Take your papers, put them away. Put your effort into some other basket, please.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 581 on the calendar in the matter of Parker versus Jazar. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Ms. Parker, you purchased a washer and dryer and a refrigerator from the defendant's store.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint. All three of those items didn't work properly.
Correct.
You returned the washer and dryer, and after getting the runaround from Mr. Jazar, you went to the store and you claim he assaulted you there.
Correct.
You want to be compensated for the washer dryer, which you still don't have, the refrigerator, which doesn't work, and the assault.
Correct.
Mr. Jazar says you can have another washer and dryer, and he didn't assault you, you assaulted him. Right?
I don't think so.
Did you listen to what I said?
Yes.
What did I say that was wrong?
Right.
Ah, I see this is going to be an interesting case. Mr. Jazar, what's the name of your store?
Dallas Appliances.
When did Miss Parker purchase the washer and dryer?
I don't remember.
When did you purchase the washer and dryer?
I originally purchased it, it was in March, the 21st when I went in.
Of what year?
Of 04.
When was it delivered?
April the 16th.
What took so long?
Because originally I had went into a shop on the 21st of March to purchase the refrigerator. I paid him for the refrigerator, and I picked out a washer and dryer set that I liked. The one that I picked out was sold, and he told me that he would order me one, and it would take about a week to get in. My witness went out and picked the refrigerator up that same day.
Did he give you what you considered a better deal because it was a floor model?
No.
Why not?
Well, this is a used or refurbished shop.
What kind of warranty comes with?
It was a 60-day warranty.
Okay.
When they came out to pick it up, he explained to them not to plug it in 30 minutes after they got it to my house. And also, when they plug it in, to plug it straight in, not to wiggle it.
Why was that, sir?
Because if the freon shaking, they will mess up the engine on it. So it have to be 2-3 hours minimum to plug it in.
Is that what he told you, sir?
He told me a time. I wasn't really sure how much time he said, but he said, like, don't plug it in for this amount of time, and then...
Stand up. Stand up. Your name?
Darian King.
Mr. King, so he told you how much time, but you don't remember how much time he told you?
It was between 30 minutes and an hour that he said.
So did you listen to him?
Yes, I did.
When did you start to have trouble with it?
3 weeks later.
Within the warranty period?
Correct. It started making a loud noise. And so at that point, I still hadn't received my washer or dryer.
Had you called about the washer or dryer?
I called several times. I was getting them running around.
What's the matter with the washer and dryer?
She make a payment to the washer and dryer. She didn't pay me full price to the washer and dryer.
Why should you pay her before she has it?
When she pay me full, I give her the washer or dryer, and she called complain. I sent my technician to her house in my expense.
When did you get the washer and dryer?
It was about 3 weeks later.
How much did he charge you for the washer and dryer?
I paid $433. and I paid $378.87 for the refrigerator.
Was this a new washer and dryer that she was getting or used?
No, used.
Where were you getting it from?
I'll buy them from dealers like a Sears or some other dealers. I fix them and I resell them.
Well, where did you buy this one from that she had picked out?
I have no clue.
What do you mean you have no clue? Who is supposed to know if you have no clue?
I buy it from maybe from some guy, his name's David. He's a big wholesaler, so I don't know where I get it from.
When he delivered the washer and dryer to you about 3 weeks later, what was the problem with it?
Well, he never delivered it. I had to go in and pick it up. Okay. And at that time, it was a different set than what I originally pointed out. It was an older model, and then it was a different color than I originally asked for. And so I told him I didn't want that. That's not what I ordered. I told him that I just wanted my money back. He told me it was against the policy, and I showed him this is what I ordered. I showed him a set that he had there, and he told me, no, Sandra, this is more expensive. And so I was like, well, he was like, I'll make a deal with you. You give me $150 more, and I'll upgrade it for you. So at that time, I was like, fine. I had a small baby, and I needed a wash and dryer. So I gave him $150 more to upgrade it.
Okay.
Okay, he upgraded it. I took that wash and dryer, the one that I picked out at that time. As soon as I got it home, I would start washing clothes, and I noticed on the spin cycle it was like real loud. And I told him, I was like, Omar, it's too loud. And he agreed with me. He said it was loud and that it just had a new belt on it, and to give it a week and it should work better. And the dryer wasn't heating up like it was supposed to either. I waited a week. It still worked the same. I called him, left a message. He didn't return my call. I waited another week. At that time, my refrigerator was making loud noise. He was like, well, I'm going to send my technician, Willie, to come out and look at it for you. He said it would be a $50 trip fee.
So we're still within the warranty on both of these items?
Correct. And I have the receipt for the...
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, for the warranty, she have to bring it to me to my shop to fix it. The technician has...
What, are you crazy? Are you crazy, sir?
No, she knows. I told her.
Quiet. So far, I want you to consider yourself in trouble.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think this is good advertisement.
You think it's a good advertisement? I want to tell you something. If you think that this is a good advertisement, I have a good psychiatrist that I'd like to introduce you to.
And later today...
He's out in Kansas. You're in jail.
Yes, ma'am.
He wants to go home. He doesn't want to click his heels together and say, take me back to Kansas. He wants to click his heels and say, take me back to Texas.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandra Parker says appliance store owner Omar Jazar sold her 3 defective appliances. Sandra claims when she tried to get a refund, Omar assaulted her.
Keep going. You're within the 60-day warranty period.
Right. So he sent Willie out the following day. Willie looked at the refrigerator, told me the motor was going out. So I was like, fine. He took a couple of parts off the refrigerator and told me he would be back later that day. He was going into the shop to get the parts, and he would be out to repair it. He never came back that day.
Well, just a second. What's the name of your store again?
Dallas Appliances.
You still in business?
No.
Now, what happened when you went into the store to confront the defendant?
Me and myself and my witness and another gentleman went to his shop. They pulled around the back because they were going to load up the washer and dryer, and I went in through the front. I went over to him and I was like, Omar, is the part for my refrigerator in? And how about my washer and dryer? He told me, no, the part wasn't in.
Why wasn't the part in?
That's not the truth. She never bring the fridge to me.
She doesn't have to bring it to you.
We'll have no problem with the fridge. She never mentioned the fridge for me. We don't have no problem with the fridge. The problem is with the washer and the dryer. That's it.
Listen to me, sir.
She never complained to me about the fridge. She just complained about it.
I have a receipt here from your technician who went out there and charged her $50.
And that's it. It was fixed.
Oh, okay. Would you just tell me what happened? So you...
Okay, I had went into a shop on the 21st. I had told him that I was just upset. I told him I wanted my money back. I had my receipts. I would just take him to court. He got upset. He told me he didn't want to deal with me anymore. He started trying to explain to Darian that he had a dryer up front and he had a washer in the back that I could take home.
All right, he's a hustler.
Right.
You should have contacted the Attorney General.
I did.
Oh, you did? Good. Maybe they put him out of business. Maybe they put him out of business. But if I were member of the public, I wouldn't buy a thing from him.
Right.
Nothing. He took advantage of you.
Right.
He doesn't have to say a thing. The few things that he say to me make it crystal clear to me that he took advantage of you. And that's how he does business. But you're a grown-up girl.
Right.
You should know better.
Right.
Spend a little more money and buy something from people who are reputable, who have reputations, who stand behind their product.
Right.
Not charlatans like this man.
I think this is good advertisement.
You think it's a good advertisement? I want to tell you something. If you think that this is a good advertisement, I have a good psychiatrist that I'd like to introduce you to. You took advantage of this lady.
No, how come you said I took advantage? I don't take advantage of her.
How old are you, sir?
34.
I'm a lot older than you are. I don't look a lot older than you do, but I am a lot older than you are. And I have bought many an appliance that came with guarantees. Listen to me very carefully and stop shaking your head. Try to put on your listening ears, Mr. Starr.
I'm listening.
I have never come across a store owner who told me to bring back the refrigerator. Never. They've said to me, bring back the laptop computer, bring back the camera, but I have never. And believe me, sir, I have bought more appliances than you have years. Ever heard the stupidity that you're suggesting to me is true, that if you have a problem with a refrigerator, you're supposed to bring it back to your store so that you can fix it?
She like it, she can buy it. If she don't want to buy it this way, she cannot buy it.
That's what she wanted. She wanted her money back. That's what you should have done.
No.
That's what you should have done, because the thing broke within the 60-day warranty period, and your mechanic that you sent out there was not able to fix it. And you tried to pawn off a washer and dryer that she had not ordered. And when you already had her money and she said, this is not what I ordered, you said, hustle, hustle. If you give me another $150, I'll give you a better one that's out front. Well, you already had her money.
I'm
speaking. I am speaking.
I'm listening.
You are a hustler.
No, I'm not a hustler.
You are a hustler, sir.
No,
and you hustled this lady out of her property. Now, did he hurt you when he ripped the receipt out of your hand?
Yes, we were back.
Wait just a second. Now, I want you to be very careful. Don't start shaking now, because so far you've been telling me the truth.
Okay, when we were back in the back, he was showing the washer and dryer. He was making out a new receipt. When I asked him to plug it up, because it looked like it was being worked on, he told me he couldn't. I asked him why. He told me because the repairman wasn't there to plug it up. I'm like, okay, well, just make me out a receipt, and on the receipt you need to state if I have any problems with it, you'll send him out there to fix it at no charge to me. And I have the old receipts, I'll just write void on them. He was like, no, you just give me the receipts, and I told him I wasn't going to give it to him. At that point, he got real mad. He stood up, he lunged at me, he grabbed one of my this arm, and he snatched the receipts. When he snatched the receipt out of my hand, that's when he scratched my hand. And at that point, I was in shock. I was just standing there, and Darian, he intervened between us.
Did you have any medical treatment?
No.
That's right.
And so Darian intervened in between us, told him not to put his hands back on me, and told me to go call 911. So at
you
that
don't call 911. I call 911. I have the police report here.
I have the police report, and I have the
Why you don't go
audio.
to the hospital? Why you don't go to the hospital?
Because you scratched me and hurt, grabbed my wrist.
Sir.
2, quiet. Good. The total amount of money that you gave him for the washer, dryer, refrigerator, plus the $150 for the upgrade comes to $961. As far as I'm concerned, you had at least a couple $100 worth of aggravation. And I think that he has to compensate you for the aggravation. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,200. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The police took both sides and told me to leave.
There is no assault, was there?
Well, I kind of used a little profanity to try to maybe scare tactic or something, you know.
There's no was hustling, nothing.
Don't mess with shysters like him.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Riley versus Kent. Step forward.
25-year-old restaurant manager Cody Riley is suing his former roommate, 20-year-old barista Zachary Kent, for selling his property while he was in jail. Zachary says he used the money to move back home.
Mr. Riley, I have some preliminary questions for you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
Are you a college graduate?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you graduate from school?
Ashworth College in Atlanta, Georgia.
And were you working at the time?
At the time I got my degree, yes, ma'am.
What were you doing?
I was a restaurant manager for Jack in the Box restaurant in Texas.
When was the last time you worked full-time, sir?
I'm currently working now.
When did you start this current job?
A week and a half ago.
Prior to that, where did you work?
Prior to that, I was incarcerated.
For how long?
19 months.
So the last real job that you had was in 2001, working for Jack in the Box?
There was another one I had. I did my own web hosting and internet design.
When was the last time you filed federal tax returns?
In 2003.
And what amount did you claim that you earned in 2002?
A couple of thousand.
2002, did you file tax returns for 2001?
Yes, ma'am.
From working in Jack in the Box?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you earn there?
19 and change.
19,000?
19,000, yes, ma'am.
These are just preliminary questions to what your case is about. You were incarcerated, according to what I read in your complaint and in the defendant's answer, for creating bad checks.
Yes, ma'am.
Not writing bad checks, but creating the checks
yes, ma'am.
On your computer.
Yes, ma'am.
And your complaint is that you and Mr. Kent had been good friends. You decided to move from Texas to Kansas City. And you did move there. You were older by 4 or 5 years. Is that right?
Yes.
Speak.
Yes, Your Honor.
Shortly after you arrived in Kansas City, you were arrested for these bad checks and incarcerated. The whole process probably took a couple of years. Shortly after you were arrested and incarcerated, Mr. Kent sold all of your property.
Yes, ma'am.
And with the money, moved himself back to Texas. You don't deny that you did that. Could you answer me? This is a television program.
No, ma'am.
It's not a silent movie. Right?
Yes.
All right, good. Now, why did you sell all of his property?
He paid for my way up there. I felt that he had to pay for my way back.
He's out in Kansas. You're in jail.
Yes, ma'am.
He wants to go home. He doesn't want to click his heels together and say, take me back to Kansas. He wants to click his heels and say, take me back to Texas. How'd you expect him to get there?
I had told him recently, whenever I spoke with him, that had he asked or something like that, I would have done something. But taking all of my belongings that cost far more than a trip back to Texas, and
what belongings did he take, Mr.
I have a list of all of the belongings that I had in my apartment, including a television, stereo, furniture, dishes, clothing, 2 pet dogs.
Let's see. Let's see. A Mitsubishi television set that you paid how much for?
$2,099.
Where'd you get the money from?
I had my web hosting company, so I had money from that, and my mother also helped to pay for it.
You see the beginning questions that I'm asking you, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Now you're getting red. Now you're getting flushed. I want to tell you something that is apparent to me. We just went through the last 4 years of your life. The last 4 years of your life suggests to me that you had no discretionary income. So I want to know where you got the money for thousands and thousands of dollars worth of stuff, sir. Is it possible that some of this stuff was purchased with the proceeds from your forged checks?
Yes, some of it probably was.
You're coming into this court and saying, well, I wrote a whole lot of bad checks that I paid for, a lot of extras for in my life. He had no right to sell it, and I want you to give me that money back.
Your Honor, some of it was obtained through legal means as far as my jobs over the course of several years. Some of it was obtained via credit and with the help of the family. I've got receipts for those showing that they were credit and cash purchases.
I don't care whether they were credit or cash purchases, sir. You were forging checks and cashing them.
And I also paid restitution on all of that.
How much did you pay?
$3,000.
This is $10,000 worth of merchandise, sir. How do you expect a court to differentiate between what you got through legitimate means and what you got through your forged checks?
Some of the money I had probably came from the checks, but some of it came from the web hosting company as well. Some of it came from family.
And I'm saying to you, you expect a court to spend 1 second of time, Mr. Riley, in trying to decipher what property you purchased through the sweat of your own brow, through legitimate means, and what property you purchased by using forged checks?
No.
And you expect me to spend a moment of my time?
No, Your Honor, the police...
Good, because I'm not. Thank you very much. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 456 on the calendar in the matter of McGowan versus Kasabian. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. McGowan, it is your claim that the defendant, who either owns or works in a beauty salon, straightened your hair, and he did so in an unprofessional manner, causing your hair to fall out and become dry, et cetera, et cetera. And in addition, you claim that he was unprofessional in the way he spoke to you during the course of his hair treatment. You want him to compensate you for all that you went through in the amount of $5,000. Mr. Kasabian says that he performed a service for you. He did so in a professional manner. And as a good businessman, when you came in and complained, he gave you a partial refund, but he certainly doesn't owe you any more. That's your defense.
That's right.
Okay. What kind of process were you putting on your hair, Miss McGowan?
Well, I actually went in to have my hair, it's called Japanese hair straightening. And I went in.
Had you ever had this Japanese hair straightening before?
No.
What prompted you to do it?
I had a curly hair, so I wanted to just kind of save time getting ready in the morning because I have a small child. So that's why I wanted to do this process.
How did you find the defendant's salon?
Well, actually, where I live, that's where his salon is. And then I actually went to post office, and I saw this huge sign. It's a Japanese hair straightening, and I haven't seen that particular sign anywhere. So I assumed that he knows what he's doing.
So you went into his shop based upon the sign and based upon the fact that he was conveniently located?
Correct.
All right. Go ahead. Tell me what happened.
And I went in and I saw Mr. Caspian, and I asked him how much it would cost for have this process done, and he said it's about $300. I said, but that is a little bit over my budget, and he says, well, I'm not busy right now, so I would do it for you for $250. And I said, do you have time now? And he said, yes. I said, that's fine. And then immediately, you know, I was sat on a chair, and then his assistant, Barry, started putting chemical on my hair. And then she proceeded to tell me, well, it's going to be kind of uncomfortable, this process. I said, how's that? She says, well, you have to go through a process of putting, you know, put you under hot steaming cap, and then we have to rinse your hair with a very cold water. I said, okay. And she says, you have to go through this process at least 3 times. At this time, I was like really afraid, but I had chemical in my hair, so I sat there and I endured. And then after she was done with everything, she proceeded to tell me, well, your hair is like really uneven because now that you have your hair straightened. And then Mr. Caspian came over and he proceeded to cut my hair, and then I was wearing a cap, you know, one of those robes they give you when you're going through the hair processing thing. And then I noticed that my chest was kind of showing, and then he was looking through the mirror. And I immediately, as soon as I realized that, I covered myself. And then he proceeded to ask me whether I was married. And I said yes. And then he says, oh, I hear you have an accent. Where are you from? And I said, well, I'm Persian. And then he says, well, I hear the Middle Eastern women, they're really good in bed. And they cook and they clean and bring home money, and they give really good service to their husband. Do you do that for your husband? And I was like really shocked by this time, and I tried to keep my composure. I was so upset at this time.
Why didn't you just tell him it's none of his business?
Well, Your Honor, as a child, I was sexually assaulted. And then this whole situation, when you're sexually assaulted by anyone, when you're a child, the whole thing came up for me. And I was very upset at that time. I was actually retrieving. I was thinking, okay, this is not happening to me as a grown woman. And I was very upset. And then he proceeded to tell his assistant, pointing at this one woman, and he says, oh, she's very pretty. And then he pointed at her butt, and he said that I'd like to have some of that. And then I was just so shocked. And meanwhile, I'm like totally seeing my hair is just, you know, I'm so upset about my hair, and this whole thing is happening. And then I asked his assistant, I said, is he married? And she proceeded to tell me yes. I said, and he goes, well, he also has a kid. I said, does that make you uncomfortable? He makes comments like that. And she proceeded to tell me, well, you just get used to it. And then they also told me that I have to buy some products in order to have the special, you know.
All right, so far, listen to me, Ms. McGowan. So far, I don't hear lawsuit, madam. I hear you didn't have a nice experience, but I don't hear lawsuit.
Okay.
So far, what I'm hearing is you went in to get your hair processed. You'd never had this process before. You didn't ask enough questions. When they straightened your hair, it was uneven because certainly curly hair is cut differently than straight hair, so he cut your hair. And while he was cutting your hair, if I believe everything that you say, he acted like an idiot. He said things that were inappropriate. Okay, inappropriate doesn't equate to lawsuit.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Inappropriate translates to, he says stupid things.
Right.
You know, you're married, do you cook, do you clean, do you service your husband? I hear women from where you are do that. It's, you know, if I believe you, and he's going to tell me it didn't happen, I'm sure, right?
Exactly, it did not happen.
Okay, but if I believe you, madam, that's not a lawsuit.
Exactly.
So then let's get on to the lawsuit, please.
Okay. When I got home, I had a massive headache. I actually had my scalp starting to feel really raw, and I called urgent care. So I went to see a doctor.
Let me see the report from urgent care.
This is the urgent care, and the receipt. They gave me Vicodin. They told me.
Just. Are you showing me something from a psychiatrist?
Well, I'm showing you a couple of things. The very first page is from urgent care. I have a very bad headache, and my scalp was completely raw, and that's why they put me on Vicodin, which I've never taken before. Okay. And then after that, I couldn't sleep for 3 consecutive days and called my primary physician, and he asked me to go to psychotherapist. And that's what you see, is a psychotherapist.
What else? And
then during this time, I actually went to another beauty salon who they knew how to retrieve my hair, and these are the costs. That I have the receipt, and also some of the product that I had to get to.
What was, I don't hear anything wrong with your hair.
My hair is chemically burned, Your Honor.
Are you telling me that less than a month after this treatment, you went to another hair salon and had hair color, highlights, and a deep conditioner?
That's
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Madam, listen to me very carefully. Common sense suggests that if your hair is burned because you've had it straightened or because you've had it curled and have a permanent, and if it's not in good condition, the one thing you don't do is put more chemicals on it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She just walked in, no appointment, nothing.
You're
Listen, Miss
lying.
McGowan, look at me. Don't speak. Did you hear how quiet he was when you were testifying? You were testifying for 12 minutes? Listen!
And later today,
I cleaned up everything that was on the tile. The hallway charge is absolutely bogus.
Listen, if you got dye on the door in October, it shouldn't have still been there in November.
I understand.
Good.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Naheed McGowan says hair salon owner Manu Kasabian owes for damaging her hair during a Japanese hair straightening process.
I'm ready to listen to you, Mr. Kasabian. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. First of all, Your Honor, this lady, she walks into the salon like a month before she came back in. She said she saw the sign and she wanted to have like some knowledge about the way it's done. So I took the time and I explained to her from A to Z how it's done. So she left. Came back a month later, she just walked in, no appointment, nothing.
You're
Listen, Miss McGowan, Miss McGowan, Miss McGowan, look at me. Don't speak. Did you hear how quiet he was when you were testifying? And you were testifying for 12 minutes? Listen! Did you hear how quiet he was when you were testifying? He didn't say anything. That's what you're supposed to do. Don't tell me shy. Don't tell me whatever brings back. I'm not interested. I want you to be quiet and let him testify. You had your turn. We understand each other?
Yes.
Okay, so she came in once, then she came back again July 13th.
So she came back the second time. She just walks in, no appointment, nothing. She says, I made up my mind, I want my hair done. I go, okay, sure, I'm not that busy, I'll do it for you now. So we started working on her. My assistant started to work on her, and then I came and I did the chemical straightening myself. During this time, I look at her hair, and her hair is like very uneven. So I said, can I like, trim it for you, fix it up? She said yes, so I went ahead and I cut it for her. And then she's saying that I'm looking at her hair through the mirror. How am I going to look at her breast, Your Honor? She has a cape on it, she's covered up. And then she paid for her hair, she was very happy, she left. Now 3 days later, she comes back in by herself. I'm very busy at the salon, I had like about 5 people we're working on. And she says to me, my hair is fuzzy, I need to talk to you. So I look at her from a distance, I go, come closer, let me look. My hands are full of color. I'm working on this lady here.
Which lady?
Miguera.
You were
She's
a
my
customer?
client.
Yes. Just a customer?
Yes, Your
Step up. Tell me your name.
Mayada Cillian.
Do you recall being in the shop, being a customer in the shop on the day when Ms. McGowan came in?
Yes, Your Honor.
You don't know him from any other place other than the salon?
No.
Okay. Tell me what you heard.
Well, he was coloring my hair at the time that the lady walked in, and she was complaining about her hair being fuzzy. And he looked at it, and he tells her, well, it went under chemical process. It's going to take time for your hair to rejuvenate, but it looks fine to me. You can't wash it until 5 days, but it could be touched up with a blow dryer or straight ironing. And she goes, well, I don't have a straight ironing. He goes, well, I know you don't have it, but we sell it here. They sell it everywhere else. If you'd like to purchase one, it's fine. Or you can just touch it up with a blow dryer. And she was still unhappy. She was complaining and started talking loud to him.
What did she say?
She said, well, that was not professional. I'm not happy at all with my hair, and you're really not giving me the attention. He says, if you want to take an appointment, I can condition your hair for you, give it back some moisture. You're more than welcome to come back. But now I can't do anything. I'm with a client. I am sorry that you feel that way. She walks out unhappy and leave and come back maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes later with her husband doing another big scene.
Well, what happened when she came back with her husband?
She came back with her husband. He was done coloring my hair. I had the process on. He was cutting another lady's hair. And she walks in with her husband. Her husband asks him to step out. And Mr. Manouk says, I can't leave my client and step out. He goes, if you don't step out, I'm going to make a big scene in your salon. So Mr. Manouk said, you already made a scene. Let's just hear it, what you have to say. He just started yelling and cussing and using bad words, and all the clients were surprised. I mean, he had other people sitting there that they were really upset and got up and started telling them, please, to be quiet and calm down. And he won't do that. They were both upset. They threatened to do a lawsuit, and they said, we want our money back. You're not giving us our money. He says, I can't give you the money for something I did right. They wanted the money back for their product that they purchased. He says, no problem. You bring the product. I give you the money back.
Your Honor, she wanted to keep the product and have me pay her back the money for the product and the hair.
So after 5-10 minutes of being loud and talking, Mr. Manouk just asked him to leave because it was a really big scene in the salon.
Mr. McGowan, you want to step up here, sir? Why did you go into the salon that day?
Well, after seeing my wife very upset and crying for several days, couldn't sleep for 3 or 4 days, I finally asked her what is wrong, and then she told me that she went to his salon and he didn't have the time of day for her. So she said, will you come back with me? I just want my money back. And so we went into the salon. I said, Mr. Kasabian, we need to talk to you about her hair situation.
She said you made a scene in the salon.
Here's what I said. I said, we need to talk to you about your hair salon. Can you talk to us now? No, I'm busy. I said, you wouldn't talk to my wife a while ago. I said, you need to talk to her now. Either you talk to her now or everybody's going to hear it.
Well, why would you do that, Mr. McGowan? That's outrageous. Sir, listen to me. That's outrageous. Sir, your wife walks in the middle of a business day. She wants his attention while he's working on somebody else. And because she wasn't instantaneously gratified, she went home. She cried to you. You went back to the store, and he was working on somebody else. And you said, if you don't take care and speak to my wife immediately, you made a scene. Well, for you and your wife to walk into a business that's a busy salon and make a scene because you didn't get instant gratification is outrageous.
Your Honor, he burned my hair.
And you reburned it 3 weeks later.
No, I didn't.
Are you wearing a wig now?
No, I didn't.
Your hair looks just fine to me. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
All right. Parties are excused. You may step out.
Just because my hair looks good now, it doesn't look like a porcupine. It doesn't mean that I did not endure a lot of headaches.
I think there are a couple of con artists that would try to get something for nothing.
I had to go to psychotherapy to just be able to endure his misconduct.
I think she's psycho already, and she should be put away.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Rutherford versus Salsamita. Step forward.
21-year-old student Ann Rutherford is suing her ex-roommate, computer tech Gina Salsamita, for the return of her security deposit. Gina says Ann left the place a mess.
Miss Rutherford, according to what I read in your complaint, you rented a room from the defendant sometime in August. And the idea was that you were going to stay for about 6 months. And because of problems that you encountered, according to you, you felt rendered the tenancy no longer viable. You gave the defendant notice in October that you planned to vacate in November. This case is about the lack of security deposit that was returned to you because she kept most of your security deposit of $400. I think she gave you back $100. And you want the rest of your security deposit back.
Yeah.
And now, since we've outlined the case, it's up to you to demonstrate to me why you're entitled to her $400 security deposit.
Well, the balance of $300 is for some of the damages.
I'd like you to tell me what the damages were. She was there a relatively short period of time, and unless she's a pig, she couldn't have used up all of her security deposit or
She
most
was
of
a
it.
pig, but one was of a painter to come out. She dyed her hair. She got the dye on my bathroom tile, used my white towel all over that. The bathroom door, there was dye on it, and also burgundy dye in the hallway. She had no regard for my home. I have a very nice house.
Well, then
I gave her an opportunity to clean it as well.
Let me see. You have photographs of that?
I'm sorry, I don't have photographs. I have a painter coming out and fixing it, basically painting it.
Let me see what you have.
There was other damage she caused that I didn't even charge her for from some of my furniture.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, so this cost $150.
And that's minimum fee, basically, to have a painter come out.
And that was because of dye that was from her hair?
Right.
Did you dye your hair when you were there?
Yes, I dyed my hair in the bathroom,
good.
and there was a spot on the door.
Oh, well, had it be painted. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. She did not clean. She just basically left the room as is. So I had a cleaning lady come out, and $50 for that. It's a minimum fee for them to come out and clean the room.
I'd like you to show me a picture of the condition she left the room.
I'd like to see that as well.
Like I said, it was just she didn't sweep or mop.
Well, then, that's unfortunate. You don't get paid for that.
Okay.
Okay, so far, $150 for painting.
Can I say something about that, Your Honor?
Yeah, sure.
There was a spot of hair dye on the door, and when I left, I said, Gina, I expect to get my full deposit back. I said, I realize there's a spot on the door. I said, if you want to go buy a can of paint for like $15, I'll give you part of my deposit for that.
Let me ask you this question, Miss Rutherford. In what month did you dye your hair?
It was in October, I believe, and then I was gone pretty much the rest of the time.
Just pay attention to my question.
Okay.
If you dyed your hair in October and you got dye on the door, why didn't you go get a can of paint and paint it? Why didn't you clean it up before you went anyplace else?
I cleaned up everything that was on the tile. The hallway charge is absolutely bogus.
Listen to me, my dear.
You did not clean the tile.
Listen to me, my dear.
Sorry.
Liar.
If you dyed your hair and you got dye on the door in October, it shouldn't have still been there in November.
I understand.
Good.
Your Honor, I'm also suing for punitive damages for the fact that I even have to go through all of this. Just the fact that she took this money from me and the fact that, you know, I even need to come and do this is ridiculous.
Well, that's what courts are for. That's what happens. Where are you living now?
I'm living with my friend Christine across.
Is that where you moved immediately after
Yes.
moving out? How long have you been friendly with Christine?
For about 2 years.
Why didn't you move in with her to begin with?
She actually already had a roommate at the time, and I had somebody that I was going to be living with, and it just didn't work out, and so I needed to find somebody immediately. And Gina seemed like she was nice, and then about a month into it, I just found out a bunch of things that I really wasn't comfortable with.
So then you moved back in with your friend whose roommate left?
Yes.
Perfect. Now it sounds like everybody is happy. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $150. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Guys, this is case number 465 on the calendar in the matter of Hulse versus Hummel. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Mr. Hulse, it is your claim that the defendant sold you a horse that you specifically requested be a tame horse because the horse was for your father.
Yes.
That turned out to be a wild horse.
Exactly.
That couldn't be ridden.
No.
And Mr. Hummel says you don't get a refund. You had an opportunity to ride the horse. Must be something wrong with your riding ability.
Probably.
Is that right, sir?
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am is better than yep. How long have you been in the horse business, Mr. Hummel?
I'm not really in the horse business. I have a small ranch that we use horses for lots of different things. We hunt and do a lot of trail riding on the horses. The horses are ridden by a lot of people, young people, people that can't ride very well.
How many horses do you have?
Right now, I have 6 horses.
And at the time Mr. Hulse bought his horse, how many horses did you have?
7 horses.
And why were you selling?
Well, because I needed some money. It was getting close to Christmas, and I needed some money.
Okay. Did you put an ad in the paper?
I put an ad on a local website.
Okay. Can I see a copy of the ad, please?
The title says well-broke horses.
For sale, well-broke horses. Prices vary. Okay. So you were selling 5 of your horses?
That's correct.
Did you sell all 5?
No.
How many horses did you sell?
Thus far, I've sold 3 of them.
Well, my math isn't that great, as Bert can attest, but if you have 6 horses now and you had 7 horses then and you sold 3...
I picked up a couple more horses, though.
So you bought some more?
Yep.
When did you buy the other horses, sir?
About a week ago.
From where?
From a friend of mine.
Okay. Now, what did you want a horse for, Mr. Hulse?
Some of my friends and I have gone in on some horses. My dad was looking to join our little group and buy another horse to ride. He's totally inexperienced.
How old is your father?
55.
A baby. So he's an inexperienced rider, and you want him to have a
Yes,
easy
and a
horse.
little bit heavier, so we wanted a stout horse.
Tell me what happened when you answered the ad.
I called Greg on the 10th of December around 12 o'clock. Told him I was interested to come out that day and look at some horses. He said he'd have some saddled and ready by 2 o'clock. So Ryan and I went to his ranch, and we said we were looking for a horse that was on the lower end of the $1,000, $1,500 range. He showed us two horses that were in that range. He told us that Angel, the horse we ended up getting, was on the lower end of that range because she didn't have papers.
Where did you get this horse from?
From a buddy in Cleveland, Utah.
When?
Quite some time ago. I can't tell you the exact time. I've had the horse for quite a while.
Well, years. Give me some idea.
Close to a year.
Well, that's not so long, sir.
No.
What's the person's name that you bought the horse from?
Richard.
How much did you pay for the horse?
I paid $900 for the horse.
Now, the other horse that you showed the plaintiff, where did you get that horse from?
Same person.
When?
Same time.
So you bought the two horses together?
That's correct.
How much did you pay for the second horse?
The same.
Did you buy any of your other horses from Mr.
Yeah, but what's this have to do with this horse?
I ask the questions, you answer the questions.
Of course I have.
Are any of the other 6 horses that are now in your possession horses that you bought from Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
All of them.
So you bought all your horses from Mr.
Yes, he's a very close friend, and we ride a lot together.
Did you ride the horse, Mr. Hulse?
Yes.
And is your father about your stature?
No.
Is he larger or smaller?
He's heavier and shorter.
So you were satisfied. Now, what happened after you bought the horse?
We paid Greg the money that day. The next morning, around 9 o'clock, Ryan and I went to trailer the horse. And the horse took us about 2 hours to get her in the trailer. She acted like she'd never seen a trailer before. By that time, Greg had already cashed our check, and we tried calling him a few times to let him know the problem. We couldn't get a hold of him.
Well, I don't understand. Didn't you go back
That's
to
not
where
true.
the horse was?
Yes.
Where was he?
He wasn't there.
Was that work?
He gave us permission to go get it. He knew he wasn't going to be there.
So you called him?
Yes.
And what did he say when you called him?
He didn't answer. We finally got the horse in. We cajoled her with some oats and stuff, and then dropped her off at our field. And then Monday, we tried to saddle her. And
Now, when you went to view this horse for the first time on the 10th of December, did you tell Mr. Hummel what you wanted the horse for?
yes,
What did you tell him?
I told him that my dad was going to be making the purchase and that he has no experience, and so we need just a leisure horse that anybody can ride.
Okay. Now, I see that you have a video.
I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
Your Honor, may I make a comment on this video?
Yeah,
while I
tell me
watch
who
it?
you are.
My name's Adam Marriott. I'm one of the riders in the video. Just like to say a few things as we watch it.
Are you a friend of his? Is that what you...
I am, yeah. You see here Ryan right here. He's the rider right now, going up to the horse, and she pins her ears back, which means she's angry. And then obviously you can see she kicks. That could be dangerous. I mean, we're about to put up a beware of horse sign in front of the pasture.
Judge, can I say something, or is it just their turn?
No, it's their turn.
Okay, as we saddle the horse, he has to hold her head really tight or else she'll turn around and bite us. And so we put it on pretty gently, and here she goes, trying to stomp on us and rear up a little bit. So we ride about 10 paces, try to turn her head very gently, and she starts bucking. You see I'm swaying with her just to stay on. And here she goes, she rears up.
Okay, and that was you riding the
That
horse?
was me riding.
Are you an experienced rider, sir?
I am.
Okay. Now it's your turn.
Okay. When they came over to my ranch, we saddled up 2 horses. I had an inexperienced employee of mine get on the horse first, rode the horse around. They got on the horse, him and those 2, and rode off my property away from the herd. If a horse is going to act up, it's going to be during that time period when you pull it away from a herd.
How do you account, sir, for that kind of behavior?
Okay, let me finish. They rode the horse off my property for quite some time. They came back and said, we want this horse.
I understand that that's what you're saying, sir. I understand.
I can get a horse to do that. It looks like they're inexperienced people. And maybe, I don't know what they've done to the horse. It's an animal. It's a living thing. It's not a machine. The horse never acted like that prior. I've had little kids on the horse, inexperienced people on the horse, and they rode the horse.
When did you first contact Mr. Hummel and tell him that you were having difficulty with the horse?
3 days. I have my phone log right here showing the cell phone that matches the ad. It's highlighted. 3 days after we purchased the horse. He told us the horse was in heat, that it was away from the herd, it needed to calm down. He kept referring to the horse as a sweetheart. But, I mean, she just progressively got worse. And we gave him a week. I just believed him for a week.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There's something fishy with regard to your story about where you get all your horses and when you bought them.
Why is that fishy?
Because I could tell from your gait, sir. That's what I do for a living. I can tell when somebody's not telling me the whole truth.
And later today,
my daughter was involved in a murder. There was 3 involved in the crime. She was a driver of a getaway car, so she got 18 years.
a horse that had not been broken.
Okay. When you called him again and said that her behavior hadn't changed, what did he say?
He just was saying, what do you want me to do? What do you want from me? And so I said, I want my money
I want
back.
you to take your horse back.
Yeah. She's not well broke. He accused me of calling him a liar and wanted me to call back and apologize to him.
Well, he's not telling the truth. I offered him another horse out of the 7. I said, come and bring the horse back.
He offered Rose.
For what? Let me finish. He's had quite a bit of time.
Absolutely.
We sat there and saddled those horses up right in front of him.
I understand that, sir. I'm not calling you a liar.
No, no.
I'm not suggesting that you... Listen to me. I'm not calling you a liar at this moment. I don't believe everything that you're telling me about your friend in Utah with the horses, because I can tell when somebody is not telling me the whole truth. There's something strange about that, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, but there's something peculiar about it. But I'm not accusing you of doing anything before they arrive. Put your hand down.
I'm sorry.
Don't you notice that I see you?
Yes,
I'm in the middle of talking.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not accusing you of doing anything, sir. He may accuse you of maybe giving this horse a little something to calm it down while he was there. I didn't say that at all. All I'm suggesting is there's something fishy with regard to your story about where you get all your horses and when you bought them.
Why is that fishy?
Because I could tell from your gait, sir. That's what I do for a living. I've been doing it for 35 years. I can tell when somebody's not telling me the whole truth, Mr. Hummel. And whatever else you did today with regard to your story about where you got the horses from, when you got the horses, what you paid for them, and how long you've had them, something isn't quite right. I don't have to necessarily figure out what that is because it's not particularly relevant to this lawsuit. I understand what you're telling me, that they came, that they saddled up the horses, that they rode off of your property, that the horse behaved reasonably on your property, that they came back the next day. The next day when they came back, they found that there was slight difficulty with the horse, getting the horse into a trailer. But that's a possible problem with most horses. They don't like to go into trailers. It's a confined space. They finally got it in. Practically immediately, they called and said to you, listen, we answered an ad for a well-broken horse. I am an experienced rider of horses, and I can't ride them. And certainly, my father can't ride them. So since you were aware, Mr. Hummel, that this horse was being purchased for a particular purpose, you have two choices. Either you say, listen, let the buyer beware. You buy a horse, you take it as you find it, and you're stuck with it. Or a horse must have a warranty, in this case, that it could be ridden, and it could be ridden by someone who is inexperienced and not a good rider. And clearly, based upon what I saw, that's not a possibility. So you're getting your horse back, Mr. Hummel. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100, which is what you paid. Is that right?
Yes.
Bring him back his horse. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They rode the horse off my property. Obviously, the guy, maybe his wife said he couldn't have the horse.
He wasn't man enough to deal with the horse and our problems in the first place.
I'm an experienced horseman. I've been through a fire science program.
It's crazy. We have 5 other horses, and they're a dream.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Stewart versus Marshall. Step forward, please.
Electrician Terry Stewart is suing her daughter, 28-year-old nurse's assistant Amy Marshall, for a loan to pay off a bingo hall fine.
Miss Stewart, this is your daughter?
Yes.
You look very much alike. Do you know that?
Yep.
One day you're going to wake up, 10 years from now, you're going to look in the mirror and you're going to say, when did I become my mother? You say your daughter owes you some money for a loan.
Yes.
A loan that you made a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Your daughter says that it was not a loan, it was a Christmas gift. You made a Christmas gift to one of your other children, and you take care of one of your other children, so she doesn't understand why you're suing her. Right?
Right.
When did you make this loan, and what was it for, Miss Stewart?
I took out a loan for my daughter when she had called me and asked me because she had...
Give me the date.
The date was 2002.
Do you remember what month in 2002?
December.
Tell me, to the best of your recollection, what the telephone conversation was.
She called me and asked me for a loan. For the reason is because she owed a lawyer some money.
What did she owe a lawyer money for?
She had bounced a check for $40. Somehow it just got out of hand, and a lawyer got a hold of the check because it was a bingo hall, and a bingo hall won't hold on to it too long. So they took her to court, and they said that it was supposed to owe them $800. And so she goes, Mom, I'm going to have to go to jail if I don't pay the $800.
So she gave somebody a bad check?
Yes.
Is that what happened?
Long story short, it ended up being a bad check, yes.
I like to cut to the chase because I have other things to do today. So your daughter was arrested for bounced check?
I was never arrested.
But you were threatened with arrest unless you made good on this check?
Right.
So you called your mother?
Yes.
And what did you say to your mother when you called her?
I told her I was going to end up going to court for the check, but the lawyer was willing to settle, so I needed the money right away to pay the lawyer.
And how much did you tell her you needed?
I don't remember offhand.
She asked for $1,500 because she needed $800 to pay for the lawyer, and she wanted $700 to help her with the children for Christmas.
And what did you say?
And I said I would co-sign because this started out to be a co-sign thing, but then I couldn't co-sign. I had to take the loan out in my own name. And I had asked her, if I do this, please don't renege on the loan.
So you took out a loan?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
The thing of it is, she helps my sister out every single day. She takes care of her kids. She gives her money. She goes to see her. She was going every week for the first couple years to see her. She drives right by my house.
Your sister's in jail?
Yes.
What is she incarcerated for?
I don't know exactly.
I do. My daughter was involved in a murder,
a robbery?
Yes, a mass armed robbery. And there was 3 involved in the crime. She was a driver of a getaway car, so she got 18 years.
Who takes care of her children?
I do.
How old are her children?
8, 7, and Trinity will be 5. I've had Trinity since she was a day old.
Because my sister didn't want her. Yep. I know.
How old are you?
28.
You have children?
Yes, I do.
How many?
3.
Are you married?
Yes, I am. To the father of my 2 younger children.
How long have you been married?
Almost 6 years.
So what are you so mad at your mother about? Because she takes care of your sister's 3 children and she goes to visit your sister?
And she goes right by my house to go see her. She doesn't stop. She actually works with my husband. And I've seen her at my husband's work. She never knows so much as a hi. She walks right by me.
Why?
I don't know.
What do you think she's angry about?
This is anger way before this loan. I hadn't seen her for almost 6 years. She wasn't around for any of my kids' births. She wasn't around for my wedding. Wasn't around for my graduation. Nothing.
Where were you?
Where was I? I was told I wasn't allowed to see her by her father. I wasn't allowed to talk to them. She knows this.
Were you raised by your father?
Yes, my father and his wife. But I moved out when I was 20.
Finally, after 7 years, her husband told her that she should look me up, and she did. And she called me, and we started talking.
Okay. Miss Marshall, I read your answer. And what your answer says was these were gifts. Well, clearly, you've acknowledged today, even though you may not recognize it, that this was a loan. And what it appears to me is that you're angry because your mother has taken on the burden and the responsibility of your sister's children, and she has neglected you. And so you feel as if you're entitled to this. The law doesn't work that way. Your mother took out a loan because you called and asked her to take out a loan.
Right.
You paid her back some of it.
Yep.
Right?
Yes, I did.
So it's unfortunate for your mother that she's had to take on the responsibility of raising 3 children until they're grown.
May I stop? I also have an 8-year-old son of my own.
So now I have 4 children.
Yes.
Who helps you take care of the children?
My mother does.
Your mother?
Yes, my mother.
How much do you owe your mother?
I made 4 payments. That was $400. And I gave her my big screen TV. She gave me $300 cash for it, and $500 was supposed to be towards that loan. So that's $900 towards the loan that was paid.
No, the $500 we own was the first time she got $500 from me for my taxes. So I gave her $500, and then when they were selling the big screen TV, I said, I'll give you $300 because I knew they needed some money, but you still owe me the $500 towards the taxes that you borrowed from me. So this will set it straight.
Does that sound familiar?
No. It was supposed to go towards that loan.
Well, you people have to keep better records. How many payments did your daughter make to you in cash for this loan? I'm not talking about television. I'm not talking about anything else. How much?
$800 in cash she paid towards that loan.
Okay, good. You don't see her children?
She wouldn't let me see my grandchildren.
Why don't you stop by her house when you go to visit your daughter?
I didn't know where she lived. Somebody else had to tell me where she lived.
You have any objection to your mother stopping by and seeing the children?
No, I don't. I encourage it. I want to see my nieces, too.
We can do that.
Well, why don't you do that? Why don't you do that on Sunday?
That's when she usually goes to see my sister.
Why don't you do that on Sunday?
I don't.
What time do you go to visit your daughter?
I leave about 10 o'clock in the morning.
And what time do you get back?
About 9 o'clock at night.
That's a long day.
I take my mom to see her handicapped brother, which my mom is handicapped, so I take her when I go to see my daughter so my mom can see her brother.
Oh, my goodness. Why don't you make time on the weekend?
Yes.
To go to see your daughter with her 3 nieces who she would like to see, visit your grandchildren, spend an hour.
I can do that. I miss my grandchildren. I can do that.
And I miss my mother. You know, I actually, the day before I got these papers, I actually called her to reconcile.
She did.
You know, and I don't know why I always have to be the one that calls her.
Well, you shouldn't be.
I shouldn't.
All right, let's make arrangements to do it on Sunday.
We can do that.
Okay? Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Now, this is case number 39 on the calendar in the matter of Bishop versus Schultz. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Bishop, you and your family were renters in a 4-unit complex, according to what I read in your complaint. The other 3 apartments or condos were occupied by owners.
Right.
And it is your claim that the defendants did several things. First, they told untruths to the cooperative association and therefore your landlord.
Yes.
Causing you to be evicted.
Yes.
And next, you allege that the defendants, one or both of them, put needles in your laundry which got into your baby's pajamas, which caused injury to the baby.
But
shh. And you want to be compensated.
Yes, ma'am.
I assume that they did not put any needles in your laundry on purpose. If needles got into the laundry because Mrs. Schultz is a diabetic,
yes,
does use needles.
No.
Doesn't use needles.
No.
Okay, interesting. And in addition, that whatever statements they made to the landlord, your landlord, were true, and if you were evicted, it was because of your own conduct. That's their defense. I just want to check something. Well, I'm reading your answer, Mr. Schultz, and your answer says, my wife is diabetic, and when the plaintiff's husband brought the lancets to me...
There's a difference between lancets and needles.
Oh, okay, lancets.
Okay, yes.
So I used the wrong word.
Used
Lancets.
Lancets.
When plaintiff's husband brought lancets to me, he said he found them in the washer. My wife is diabetic, but they did not look like the lancets my wife used. So we're using a different term.
Right,
Needles,
right. Well, there is
lancets.
a difference between lancets and needles.
Okay. When did you move in, Mrs. Bishop, with your family?
August of '03.
And how many members were there in your family?
3, myself, my husband, and my baby.
How old is your baby?
1 year and 4 months.
Did you have trouble with Mr. and Mrs. Schultz or any of the other neighbors when you moved in?
Just the Schultz. No, the other neighbors were very kind and friendly, normal neighbors.
What happened with Mr. and Mrs. Schultz?
I think the first month or 2 was fine. We were friends.
Well, actually, it was... I didn't ask you anything yet.
Mr. Schultz was very kind and helpful, showing us where the things were, telling us how things ran around there, like he was the
That was
landlord.
the first month or 2?
First month or 2. I understood from the neighbor in number 2, Tammy.
Don't tell me anything that a neighbor told you.
Okay, I understood she needed a kidney. So I went up and offered her a kidney and asked her what blood type she was. She said she was blood type AB. And we talked about it.
So, it's good.
To my best recollection. Anyways.
Go ahead.
So, just things started happening where the laundry part problems. They parked in a, his truck is very big, it's a Bronco, and it's blocked our space. When we moved in, we asked him several times to please move it. We can't get our car in the garage. Here's a violation that was written on my car because his car was parked in my space, so I had to scoop my car over the line. So I was ticketed because they called on me after we asked him to move the car and complained to the landlord.
Mr. Schultz, did you and the plaintiff and or her husband ever have a conversation with... Could you stand up and take your hand off your hip?
I'm sorry?
Did you and the plaintiff or her husband ever have a conversation with regard to your truck encroaching on their parking space?
No, not...
Never?
No.
Never?
No.
Your Honor?
No.
And actually...
However, excuse me, Your Honor, however, though, I did quite a few times ask them if they could move their car over because I couldn't get into my car, and she is...
Now, just one second.
Okay.
So there was a problem.
There was a problem.
Now, when there was a problem, it was because their car was parked too close to the line, yet their car was parked within their lines. But you have a very large car, and in order for you to get in and out of your spot, you wanted them to move their car further over.
To the other line.
I understand. Your wife is answering the question, sir. I mean, you know, I understand. She understands what I'm saying. You may want to give me a lot of baloney, but I'm not going to tolerate it. You asked them to move their car to the other side because you have a very large car and it was difficult for you to get in and out of your car. Is that a fair statement?
That would be a fair statement.
That's a fair statement. Okay. And what I assume happened is you parked it as close to the line as you possibly could. Is that what you're telling me?
Not necessarily, but
Not necessarily. Let me see the pictures. I'm 10 steps ahead of you, sir.
The picture
I'm
of his
10 steps
Bronco,
ahead of you.
And here's the rules and regulations.
You know, fortunately, we all come to our jobs, Mr. Schultz, with a life's experience.
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, well, in this case, you may not be. Let's get to the rest of the complaints that were made, because that's what you're alleging. Let's get there, and let's get there fast.
Okay.
And then we'll get to the Lancets.
Okay.
What?
May I ask my witness to come up?
Absolutely. Who are you?
I'm her husband, Brett Bishop.
Okay. Do you have the complaints?
No, we do not have the complaints.
Well, then how am I supposed to adjudicate that part of your claim?
We were not able to get them from our landlord in time.
Well, then, yeah, I have to strike that part of your claim.
Okay, then I have nothing in that regard.
Good. Fine. And let's get to the needles incident.
I went out to get the baby's laundry out of the dryer. And
When was this?
January 29th. And found needles in the dryer. And I came back in the house and called my husband, and he told me that they might be hers because she's diabetic.
Okay. Do you have any of them with you?
Yes.
And this was before you put any clothes on the baby?
No.
What do you mean, no?
Similar of what the needles look like.
You see, what you state in your complaint is that your baby was uncomfortable, and the next morning you found needles in her pajamas. Then you went down to the laundry and you found needles. Now you tell me that on the 29th of January, you went down to the dryer and found needles in the dryer.
I got the needles out of the dryer, and I came back into the house and called the police.
Yes.
My husband came home at the same time.
Yes.
And he can pick it up from there.
The police officer went and spoke with Mrs. Schultz.
Listen to me. Were you there when the police officer spoke to Mrs. Schultz?
I was not in his presence. He spoke to her on her balcony. We waited in the house. He came down and told us what she said.
That's hearsay. I'll look at a police report if you have it.
Yeah, we have a police report. In that police report, she admits that the needles were hers.
Shh.
Sorry.
Now, according to the police report, I'm just telling you what the police report says.
Okay.
It says that you advised the police that the needles were left in your clothing by accident. I got it. What's next?
We have photographs of the needle. And we did not know that where the needle came from, where the scratches came from originally.
I don't know what scratches you're talking about, Matt. I have no clue as to what scratches you're talking about.
We found a needle later in my baby's diaper. After we phoned the police, we discovered that the scratches that were on her that were not on their.
I have no idea what you're talking about, madam. I asked you, tell me about the incident involving the needles.
Okay.
And you told me on the 29th of January you found needles in the laundry. And now you're talking to me about scratches, and I have no clue as to what you're talking about.
On the 28th night, I put my baby to bed. In the morning when she woke up, my husband...
It was on the 9th.
What are you telling me?
On the 9th, we put our baby to bed. I usually put the baby to bed, and she had no scratches to her labia area. She was very fussy that night. We thought she was teething. The next morning when I got up to take her to the nanny, I noticed when I was changing her, she had a dirty diaper, so I wiped her up, and I noticed that there were scratches to her vagina area. We have pictures.
What kind of diapers do you use?
Pampers.
Well, how could she have scratches to her vaginal area?
That's where we're getting at, is the whole reason why we're here is the needles that this lady put in our laundry somehow got into our baby's diaper, scratched up her labia. We have pictures to document that. We have pictures of the needles, and our emergency room doctor
We dug through the diaper pail.
saw those.
We have a diaper pail we keep the diapers in, and after discussing with the officer and finding out the needles 2 weeks later that she had got scratched from, we assumed we better look through the old diapers that we keep in the pail, which we have pictures of the diaper pail and the needle in the dirty diaper. So that's how we didn't know where the scratches came from.
But you don't put diapers in the wash.
Shh. Push it.
So we put 2 and 2 together and took her to the emergency room, and they wrote the report that needles stick to the labia. And they did the HIV test on her, hepatitis testing. And
So what you're telling me is, I mean, I don't know what these pictures show, madam. You're showing me a picture of a dirty diaper with a blue needle in it. Is that what you're showing me you found?
Yes.
I don't believe you. I don't believe that 2 weeks later you kept dirty diapers in a pail.
The baby goes to the nanny Monday through Friday.
Let me explain something to you, madam. I do not believe that you kept dirty diapers in a pail from January 9th to January 30th. I don't believe it. It doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it ain't true.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
I assume that you have a busy life. I want to know why you're suing him over swimsuit and shoes. I'm just curious. You took time out to file a lawsuit about your swimsuit and shoes.
Shell and Perry Schultz put needles into a laundry dryer, causing injury to her baby. Renee also claims the Schultzes lied to the landlord and got her evicted.
I believe that you probably found a couple of her needles in the dryer. That's a possibility. And maybe you figured you could parlay that into something else, but I do not believe, and I'm not crazy about their attitude, especially his. I'm not sure about hers yet, but especially his. But if you think you're going to parlay that into a monetary award, you are wrong, because I do not believe this evidence, which is a 2-week-old diaper that you kept in a pail in her room and happened to open it up and found within the diaper that your husband said he changed on the 9th of January, a blue needle that he overlooked. I don't buy it.
It was
My problem is that 3 weeks later, or 2.5 weeks later, when you found this, you took your child to the emergency room?
Mm-hmm.
What date did you take the child to the emergency room?
The 29th.
29th. So what you're telling me is you didn't see the problem on the 9th.
Yes, we did.
Well, show me what you did.
I took her to my doctor for shots. 2 days later, she had a date for shots. There's red marks on the buttocks.
Let me see. Let me see. 2 days later, let me see what the report says. Well, infant.
Red marks on
Red
buttock.
mark on buttock. That's not what your husband just told me. Your husband told me that she had needle punctures on her labia. Listen, what do you think? I was born yesterday. Your case is dismissed. They may have not been good neighbors, and they may have done a lot of things that were nasty to you, but you're not going to parlay that. My only problem is you did take the child 2.5 weeks later to an emergency room where somebody found a needle prick on the child.
No.
My question is, how did it get there 2.5 weeks later when it wasn't on the doctor's report 2 days after what you allege is the incident?
Because
that causes me a great deal of concern. Not from them, but from you. Your case is dismissed.
Your Honor,
Step out.
thank you, Honor.
Out.
Thank you. I didn't put the lancets in the washer or the dryer.
They just started turning psycho and messing with our cars, cutting our vehicles up, all kinds of stuff.
We've lived there 8 years, never had a problem with anybody until they moved in.
I think because they're just really jealous. Their kid's autistic, unfortunately.
So does that mean I'm jealous of every normal child in this world? I don't think so.
He used to tell us all the time, oh, you're so lucky to have a healthy baby. She's so beautiful. She's so this, she's so that. And I think there was a fine line between jealousy and hatred.
That's just a farce. I mean, they're just reaching, you know. Desperate people will do desperate things, you know, and they're desperate.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McCullough versus Nelson's Nautilus. Step forward, please.
Student Renee McCullough is suing the owners of her gym, Preston Nelson and John Ashey, for breaking into her locker and selling her belongings. The men say Renee's locker dues were 6 months delinquent.
Ms. McCullough, you belong to the defendant's gym, according to your complaint, for about 9 years.
That's correct.
And then there came a time recently that you stopped going, about a year ago. And it is your claim that they clipped the lock off your locker after several months and got rid of your stuff. You want them to pay you $600 for what you claim was in the locker. When did you first rent your locker?
The first time I rented it was for a year. It was in November of 2001.
And how much was the rental on the locker for that year?
I paid $100. He gave me a break. I paid a year in advance.
Is that right?
That sounds correct.
Okay, $100 for the year. That was in 2001.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay in 2002? Is not an answer.
No.
Why not?
Because it was my understanding when I paid for my year in advance that it would be included in my automatic payment out of my bank, and in the event that it wasn't, that Preston would let me know.
Did you have that conversation with her?
I would say yes, I did. We could not find any paperwork to show that, and so I don't know where it all fell short, but I have no paperwork that would show that. Typically, it was a prepaid year only.
Okay. When did you stop going to the gym at all?
At approximately middle of 2002.
And when did you go back?
The end of July of 2003.
And when you went back in July of 2003, you found your locker opened?
Exactly.
Okay, well, you know, that's well over a year ago. What have you done the last year?
After I found out my lock had been cut off, I spoke to Mr. Ashby, and he said he had to speak to his wife to find out where my belongings were. He thought that they still had them on the premises. At that time, I found out that no, they were no longer there. I left a note with Mr. Ashby concerning, you know, I had quite a bit of belongings in that locker, and that if they would pay me for my swimsuit and my shoes, I would go away.
Do you work? I assume you do.
I did previous to this, yes.
What are you doing now?
I'm going back to school.
How do you support yourself?
Through my husband.
Oh, okay. So your family supports itself?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're going back to school. What I want to know is, I assume that you have a busy life. I want to know why you're suing him over swimsuit and shoes. I'm just curious. You took time out to file a lawsuit about your swimsuit and shoes.
It's the principle of the thing. I expect that if they run a business, that they need to comply with the laws that regulate the renting of areas.
Well, but the truth of the matter is, Ms. McCullough, from what you tell me, you didn't go back to the gym for almost a year. And during that period of time, the locker was really not paid for. You assumed that it was going to be paid for. You assumed that they would notify you in the event that it wasn't paid for. Have you lived in the same place all the time? Well, what I don't understand, Mr. Nelson, quite frankly, is why couldn't you just send her a note? Drop her a note and say, listen, we're going to empty out your locker because it hasn't been paid for, and it has to be paid for. You know, you better come and get it within the next 2 weeks.
Right. That really, a lot of the specifics, when Johnny came on board, the records were not well kept. We didn't have an automatic payment system in place for lockers. That was something that was discussed, but primarily it's a membership, tanning, health club.
Okay. So what Ms. McCullough was asking for initially was $160. Is that right?
That's what I have, yes.
Right. That's what she said here. Originally, I told him, you've just paid me $160 for my swimsuit and sneakers. That would be fine. And she's here just for the principle of it, right?
Correct.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $160. That's all. Thank you.
All is excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 334 on the calendar. In the matter of Berger versus Berger, parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, folks. Have seats.
Mr. Berger, you and the defendant used to be married. You have 2 children together. You've been divorced according to your complaint for 18 years.
Yes, ma'am.
You say that your former wife owes you $302.44, which you claim you overpaid in child support for one of your children who graduated from high school and the money was taken out of your pay.
Yes, ma'am.
You want her to give you back that money.
Yes, ma'am.
And your former wife says that she used that money for your daughter's graduation, the expenses for her graduation, and get over it. Which, quite frankly, considering everything in this world, would be my response to you, too, were you my ex-husband. But since we're not there, I'm going to find out whether there is any merit to your claim, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You have how many children?
4.
How old are they?
The youngest is 14. The oldest is 24.
Okay, and with the defendant, you have an 18-year-old?
Yes, ma'am.
And?
22-year-old.
So it's only your 18-year-old daughter that we have issue with. Your younger children still live with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how much child support were you paying when both children were living with your former wife?
When I was paying for both of them, at the end, it was $300 a week, I think it was.
$300 a week or $300 a month?
Sometimes support was ordered per month. Sometimes it was ordered per week.
You know?
Yes, ma'am. It was $760.
A month?
Yes, ma'am. I have, this is the documentation of all the, since it's been going through child support enforcement, of how much he's been paying.
Did you ever pay, sir, $1,500 a month for support?
$1,500 a month? No,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So when you told me $300, that you were talking about $300 per month, not per week.
Yes, ma'am.
Per month.
It's been, sometimes the support was ordered per week.
I understand that,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
when it was ordered per week, it was never $300 a week.
No, ma'am.
Well, then you made a mistake.
If I said that, then yes, I did.
Yes, you made a mistake. It was never $300 a week. Maybe it was $300 a month.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to find out.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just wanted to find out whether you've been an overindulgent parent.
I've always paid what the court ordered me to pay.
I understand that you've always paid what the court ordered you to pay, sir. I also understand that you've had 2 more children and you've been able to at least contribute to their support also, and you have another family, which is really my question. Your daughter graduated from high school. They took out a payment after she graduated from high school of $300, and you want the money back.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain it to me.
The support was ordered to cease on June the 14th. They took out the full month of June, and I'm just asking for the other 2 weeks that shouldn't have been taken out.
Did you ask your former wife about it?
Yes, ma'am. I sent a...
And what did she say to you?
She said no.
Did she say anything about graduation expenses?
No, ma'am, she did not.
If she said something to you about graduation expenses, you know, the additional money that she had for graduation, for ring, for gown, for whatever. Gown, ring?
Shoes, everything.
Would you have said, sure, it's a one-shot deal?
We could have discussed it, yes, ma'am.
So why didn't you tell her?
I didn't tell him because every time I've tried to explain him, all I get back are nasty letters, and I really just didn't think he would do anything. I mean, he hadn't laid eyes on her in 2 years. Why? I mean, so I didn't think he would do anything else.
Judge,
yes.
I've done extra. I bought both of the children a car. That's doing something extra.
That's true.
Yes, ma'am.
That's right, but that wasn't within the last 2 years, and I said 2 years he hasn't laid eyes on
Well, what
her.
happened 2 years ago, Mr. Berger?
I got tired. I mean, I never received phone calls from him. You know, she's changed her phone number. I have tried to call, but the phone number has been changed. I don't know when. Might have been recently. I don't know. I just basically give up.
That's too bad.
Yes, ma'am.
Did your father buy you a car?
He did.
Okay. Tell me your name.
Stacy Stack.
Stacy. When did he buy you a car?
2.5 years ago.
Did you thank him?
I did.
You still using the car?
No, ma'am.
What happened to it?
We went to go get it inspected, and the family friend that inspected it said that it wasn't good. It was rusted underneath, and that it could break down at any time. So we bought a new car.
How long did you use it for?
I used it for about 6 months.
Okay. So before 2 years ago, you had contact with your dad?
Not a lot. I called him. The last time that I've talked to him or seen him was I called him so I can go up there and see him, and then he said okay, and then the day of, or the day before, he came by and said, no, we have to go somewhere else, and they left, and I haven't talked to him or seen him since then.
That sound familiar?
I think something came up that time. Yes, ma'am.
Can't come up. Nothing can come up. Nothing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Berger, you're going to get your $302 back.
Yes, ma'am.
You might want to buy something nice for your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Remember, you have 4 children.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And later today,
I was told by the 6-year-old that the boyfriend had picked him up by his ears and dropped him to the floor. And so I called DHS because if he'd do this, he might do something worse.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hayward Berger claims ex-wife Cynthia Berger owes for the return of child support. Hayward says he overpaid by $300.
All very sad. There really is no defense to it. Money was supposed to stop, correct?
According to the papers, yes. When we went to court, before we go in, child support enforcement speaks to me. and they told me that it would continue to the end of the month. He was still obligated to the end of the month. I said, are you sure? Yes, he's obligated to the end of the month. I said, okay. We went in, and the judge said he would stop because he wanted it stopped on her graduation day. And I called child support enforcement again, told them, you know, and they said, no, he's still obligated till the end of the month.
Judge,
so I just, you know.
You took it. The judge makes the order, and the judge said it's supposed to stop on the 14th. How old are you?
18.
When were you 18?
March 13th.
And the overpayment was $302?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Berger?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to get your $302 back.
Yes, ma'am.
You might want to buy something nice for your daughter, but you're entitled to it back.
Yes, ma'am.
Remember, you have 4 children.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Good. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $302.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It seems like when it counts in front of the judge or whatever, she comes off as a good guy and I come off as a bad guy.
Every time he's mad at me, he hasn't seen the children. He didn't take the children. He doesn't buy them presents, and he says it's because of me.
My daughter going by my ex-wife's maiden name shows some of what's been going on, the brainwashing for the kids.
I would have liked him to start seeing us when we were little so we'd get to know him, but we're older now and we know what happened, so.
There's many, many, many trips I've made. It's a 2.5-hour drive from my house to their house to pick the children up.
He's never tried. He cares more about the money than myself and my brother.
I would like to have a relationship with my kids in Richmond and try to mend fences if possible.
Maybe it's hopefully the last thing I see of him. I haven't seen him in 2 years and it really doesn't bother me any.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Isbell versus Espinoza. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Holly Isbell is suing her former friend, 25-year-old nurse's assistant Michelle Espinoza, for unpaid babysitting fees and miscellaneous expenses. Holly says she cared for Michelle's kids while she was in the hospital.
Ms. Isbell, according to your complaint, the defendant was hospitalized.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were contacted to see if you could fill in while she was hospitalized, which was on an emergency basis, to watch her 5 children?
Yes, ma'am.
You agreed to watch her children, and you want to be reimbursed for babysitting services as well as miscellaneous expenses for the children while they were in your care.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Espinoza says the 2 of you were friends. You used to watch each other's children all the time. You filled in for each other. There was never an agreement to pay you for babysitting services, and she doesn't owe you anything. In addition to the babysitting services, it is your claim that the defendant also has embarked on various acts of harassment, and
Yes,
you want to
ma'am.
be compensated for that. How long have the 2 of you been friends?
Probably for about 1.5 years, almost to 2 years.
And you have children?
Yes, I do. I have 3.
How old are your children?
Mine are 12, 6, and 4.
And how old are Miss Espinoza's children?
6, 3, almost 2. She has 2 twins. And then the baby is almost 8 months.
And were there times when the 2 of you exchanged babysitting services?
I remember one time that she's watched my children, yes.
And was there any payment?
No, there wasn't.
Any other times that you watched her children?
There was payment, yes, ma'am.
Now, when did you go into the hospital?
On the 21st of April.
For what?
For kidney stones.
When did you receive a call, Miss Isbell, that there was need for your service?
I received a call from one of her friends on March 21st. She said that Michelle told her to call me because she needed somebody to watch the kids for a couple of days, that she was going to go in the hospital. And I called the hospital, and they said that she had already been admitted. So they gave me her room number, and she was in pain. She said that they were already giving her pain medicine, and that her fever was really high, and that they didn't know what was really wrong with her at the time, and that it was only going to be for a couple of days. I agreed to watch them for a couple of days.
Fine.
And in that agreement, I said the same arrangement goes as prior. And
No,
she
no,
agreed.
Miss Isbell, I don't think you said that to her. I think you're a nice lady, and I think that if somebody is saying to you, I'm in the hospital and I have a very high fever and I'm in a lot of pain, I don't think that a nice lady like you would say, well, I'll take care of the children for a couple of days, but you know it's going to be on the same payment arrangement that we had before. I don't think you would say that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
So the children were dropped off at your house, and then what happened?
They were dropped off, and what was brought in was a gallon of milk and a few diapers and about a half of baby formula, about this big. And then when I called her at the hospital, because I didn't know how to reach her boyfriend, I said, look, you know, the kids are running out of diapers again.
When did you call her?
The very next day. And she said that she was fixing to have tests and that she would get a hold of her boyfriend and that she would bring all the stuff that was needed. Well,
Not she.
Not she, but the boyfriend. Well, he brought over a bag of potato chips, about 7 cans of Cokes, and that was it. And then I noticed bruisings on some of the kids and just different things that were happening. And the 3-year-old had bruisings on his ears. And then when I called to ask Michelle about that, she said that she hadn't noticed anything about that. And then I was told by the 6-year-old and by the 3-year-old that the boyfriend had picked him up as a punishment by his ears and dropped him to the floor. And so I called DHS because I was scared that if he'd do this, he might do something worse.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Holly Isbell says former friend Michelle Espinoza owes for unpaid babysitting fees. Michelle says there was never an agreement to pay.
Where was the boyfriend for the 4 days?
He works.
What kind of work does he do?
He's a cook.
And did you give her any money for the 4 days that she watched the children? Just not for payment, but for the food that they ate. You know, if it costs her an extra $150 for the 4 days,
When
that the children
she...
are with you. Let me finish. If it cost her an extra $150, don't you think that it was your responsibility, your boyfriend's responsibility to see to it that she had what she needed for the children?
When I offered her for money or to bring groceries over there, because I can't just give her my food stamp card because I'd get in trouble.
I'm not asking you to give her your food stamp card. Your boyfriend works. I assume that he works for money, not food stamps. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how much money did he give her?
None that I know of.
Right. Well, that's not fair.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'm the one that packed everything for her kids.
Well, then come up and tell me what you packed.
All
tell
right.
me your name.
And I called her in the beginning.
Tell me your name.
Jessica Flores.
All right, Miss Flores, what did you bring over for the children?
I packed 4 changes of clothes, 3 sleeping clothes.
I'm not talking about clothes.
Okay.
Let's not talk about clothes.
I
She
gave
didn't
her
buy any clothes.
24 diapers for the
24
baby,
diapers?
for the baby. And the twins are in diapers. I gave her 50 for the twins.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did the milk, Michelle had the big count on my ounces, but it's not the 12 ounce. It's like a 32 ounce, and it was brand new. It wasn't even opened. I put that in with the Pampers and a gallon of milk because Michelle told me that's all she wanted.
Is that what she brought over to you?
No, ma'am.
What
It
did
was
she bring
not.
over?
She brought over, now the can size is right, but it was half full. And she did not pack 50 diapers for the twins. It was more like 12.
Do you have a receipt for items that you bought for the children during that time?
I do not, because I only paid once to buy just a really cheap pack of diapers for the twins.
So how much did you pay?
Food was $169.41 because I had to replace everything, you know, because they ate a lot.
Okay,
They didn't get to go to
$169.41 for 4 days for 5 children. What else?
And I'm asking for replacement of the mattress or replacement of the bed because her oldest son had wet on the bed for 2 nights and hid it.
Well, how old is he?
He's 6.
Okay. Do you think that it's possible that his mother is in the hospital and he's taken out of his familiar surroundings and he's taken to your house, that he's a little bit agitated, so you're blaming a 6-year-old because he tried to hide the fact that he had had an accident in the bed? Miss Isbell, get it together. Now tell me about the harassment.
She would call and she would leave messages on my phone, and I have one tape.
I'd like to hear it.
Holly, I don't appreciate you going to missionaries or compassion or wherever and using my name to get my children diapers, and when you tell me you paid for them, what kind of Christian person are you? Now, I'm sick of you trying to run around this town and ruin my name or giving me bad trouble. You keep on and you will have trouble yourself, Holly. Now, I'm just a little bit sick and tired of this.
All right, so she's telling you she's angry because you've been saying bad things about her. Go ahead.
But
it's not harassment.
Well, this was because 2 days after, DHS was knocking on my door. And there's another case involving me and my daughter that she knows about. It involves a sexual act that happened to someone, and she knew about it. And
so you think that she called Children's Services to report on you?
I really believe that.
Okay, she may have, but you can't prove it. So far, I think that she has to reimburse you for your expenses with regard to taking care of her children, because I think that that's the right thing to do. And I think that there was probably an implied agreement to take care of your children's necessaries. Now, how much do you think is appropriate to reimburse Ms. Isbell for the service that she provided in watching your children for 4 days?
I don't know what she purchased on my children. She went to the Compassion Outreach for diapers that she said she purchased herself.
No, she's not asking for diapers. She's not asking for diapers at all. She spent $169.41. That's what she says she spent
If she
for the
spent
children.
that, why didn't she ask me for groceries when I asked her to go get them?
Oh, I want you to turn around and look at her. Turn around and look at her. Miss Espinoza, I want you to say the following words. Thank you for taking care of my children when I couldn't and my boyfriend couldn't.
Thank you for taking care of my children when I couldn't and my boyfriend couldn't.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $169.41. Thank you.
Party judge speaks. You may step out. Yes, case number 263 on the calendar in the matter of Burnley versus Belluccio. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Burnley, according to what I've read, the defendant was your former fiancée. She lived with you for a period of time. You claim that she owes you for 2 things. First, for rent for several months that she lived there and she didn't pay you rent. And second, for a credit card loan that you paid off for her and that she agreed to repay. The defendant says that while she was there was not an agreement for rent, that in quite the opposite, she was really treated more like a maid than anything else. She cooked and cleaned and took care of you and your children and the house. And in addition, while she does acknowledge that there was a loan for her credit card debt that she had, she says that she agreed to leave certain items at the house when she left that more than cover the balance of the loan, some of which she had already paid to you. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Burnley, when did you start to date Ms. Belluccio?
February of 1998.
And in February of, because I've read these papers very carefully, in February of 1998, sir, you were married.
Yes.
And how old were you?
36.
And how old was Miss Belluccio?
19.
Is that right?
I was 18.
And where did you meet her?
At work.
What kind of work did you do?
It's a convenience store.
What were you doing at the convenience store?
I was her boss.
So you were her boss. She was 18 years old. She was going to school?
Yes.
College?
Yes.
And she was working besides, going to school full time?
Yes, ma'am.
How long had you been separated from your wife?
10 years almost.
Are you divorced now?
No, not yet.
Why not?
Long story. She was supposed to pay for the divorce.
I have time, sir.
Okay.
And it's a long story,
Yeah.
but I guarantee it's not
It was
such
a
a
matter
long
of
story.
principle that she would, when we had split up, she had taken all the furniture and stuff like that, and she was supposed to pay for a divorce, and that she never did.
Stubborn sucker, aren't you?
Yes.
You have children?
Yes.
How old are they?
11 and 12.
Now, when did Miss Belluccio move in with you?
July of 1999.
And did you become engaged at that time?
No.
When did you become engaged?
I do not remember approximately. She asked me to marry her first, and at that time I said that I believe she should be at least 25 before she gets married, so she knows what she's getting into.
And did you ever change your story?
I asked her to marry me a couple of years later.
Did you give her a ring?
Yes.
And you're still not divorced?
Correct.
How did you plan to carry that out, sir?
I procrastinate, but I believed that I would have it done before we would get married.
That's usually the way things go.
Right.
I want you to tell me about this rent that you claim she owes you.
In July of '99, I purchased a home. I did not believe it was a good idea for her to move in at that time, but it happened that way. The agreement was, though, that at that time the living expenses cost $800.
What were the living expenses?
Well, the mortgage was $550, electric, phone, stuff like that. They came to approximately $800. She did agree to pay $400, which
Why would she pay off your mortgage? Was the house in her name?
I wouldn't call it paying my mortgage. It was half the living expenses.
She was living with you, and I assume sharing your bed. Right?
Correct.
Who took care of the chores around the house?
She did.
Didn't you think you were a little old for her, Mr. Burnley?
Yes.
Didn't you think that a guy who's 36 years old and married should have nothing to do with an 18-year-old girl who's working, going to school, trying to do the right thing? She want to get hooked up with you for? You can't even get yourself off the horse after 10 years. Huh?
She told me age didn't matter to her.
She told you age didn't matter. She's 18 years old. You're a grown man. Age matters. There are a lot of things that matter that people say don't matter. They matter. It is your statement that you did not have an agreement with him for rent. Is that right?
There was no formal agreement. There were times when we did say, give what you can. There were times when Stephen had 2 roommates where he didn't expect a penny from me. And then there were times we actually did, in September of 2003, have a formal rent agreement.
Okay. What was your agreement?
That I would pay him $300 and that I would pay for groceries.
Okay, and when did you move out?
November of 2003, at the end.
Okay, so for 3 months.
Correct. I always contributed to the household, whether it be projects or whether it be I paid for all the groceries. There may have been 1 month in the 4 years that we lived together that Stephen bought groceries. But I did all the household chores, and I assisted him with several projects. I have pictures of his whole house has been changed. I paid for a lot of those things.
Like what?
Painting. I helped him paint. We did the whole back patio, and I paid for several flowers to go in the ground, at least $250 a summer. I paid for flowers, and several of those flowers have come back.
So you treated the house as if it was going to be your home?
That is what Stephen told me at all times, that he offered one of the roommates money, $7 per hour, to help him work on a project. And I questioned, why aren't you offering me money to help you work on these projects? And he said to me that half of this will be yours someday.
I'm listening.
That part's not true about putting in flowers. I always had told her, don't put flowers in, you can't afford it, you're going to school. She'd also bought clothes for my children, which I told her not to do.
So she was a nice person?
Yes.
When you were
yes,
together?
She did a lot.
Tried to hold up her end of the financial bargain while you were together.
Right.
And then some.
That's correct, which I'd told her all along.
So why are you here suing her for rent?
Principal.
Someone who proposes marriage to a girl half his age while he's still married shouldn't talk about principle.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You lived together for how many years?
4.
Get over it.
And later today,
your mother never said to you, don't worry, it's a gift. Right?
Right, but she did say, don't worry.
Oh, did you ever hear the expression, beauty fades, dumb is forever?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephen Burley says ex-fiancée Courtney Belluccio owes for a loan to pay off a credit card. Courtney says Stephen is still legally married.
Now let's get to the credit card.
April 10th, 2003. I was not aware at that moment. She came to me and told me that she had a credit card that she had, I don't know if it was maxed out, but it was very high interest. It was killing her paying the payments. So I decided to take a bank offer loan that I'd had and pay off that credit card, and it was at 2%.
How much did you give her to pay off her credit?
$5,176.
And how much did she pay back? How much did you pay back?
I paid back $3,890.
And you claim that you don't owe anything on this because why?
When I moved out in November of the end of November 2003, I told Stephen when I was leaving that I'm going to leave some things behind. If I'm going to write my estimated value next to it, I'd like you to write what you feel is a fair value next to it, and we'll agree upon a value, and we'll take that off the balance. And he agreed.
Can I please see the list that you prepared of the things that you left behind? Well, let me tell you this. Some of this is nonsense. A bicycle. Now that's $100. Kitchen table and 4 chairs.
Sits in the basement. Told her she could take it. Would she need it?
2
She said
dining room chairs.
no. In my basement.
You have any use for these things?
No.
You can go get these things because he doesn't want them, but you don't get credit for them. Okay. You agree to pay him back the money. You owe him $1,500. That's all. Your lawsuit, sir, is seeking over $3,000. I think you're a little out of line. I think you're out of line with the rent. I don't think that you had an agreement other than the defendant has already acknowledged that is an agreement for 3 months. I believe her when she says she paid you the rent for the 3 months, September, October, November. That's it. You lived together for how many years?
4.
4 years? Get over this list. Get over it, unless you want any of this stuff. If you want any of this stuff, it's in his basement. I'll make an order that you can go pick it up. Do you want it?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. She's going to come and pick up all this junk within 5 days of the date of this hearing, and she owes you $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think his real motivation is that he's simply angry with me.
I procrastinate a lot, so she probably figured I wouldn't try to collect it.
We had just completely grown apart. We wanted different things on a daily basis from life.
I was just in no hurry to get married again, I guess.
It was all on principle. He was planning on getting a divorce, and ironically, after I left, he initiated one.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Power versus Power. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Mary Power is suing her daughter, administrative assistant Catherine Power, for the cost of a cruise from New York to Canada.
Ms. Power, this is your daughter.
Yes, it is.
And I gather from reading your petition that at this point in your lives you're not happy with each other.
No, we're not.
So this is what the case is about. Your family was planning to go away on a cruise together, so I assume you all got along. You have children?
Yes.
How many?
2.
And they were going on the cruise also?
Yes.
How many of your brothers and sisters were going?
2. 2 sisters.
And Mrs. Power, what you tell me in your petition is that your daughter paid for the cruise, and then the cruise company went bankrupt.
Correct.
And everybody was really disappointed, and according to what you tell me, I read, you made arrangements for a second cruise.
Correct.
And since the refund hadn't come back yet, you paid for the second cruise.
Correct.
And your daughter didn't pay you back when she got the refund.
Correct.
She says that the second cruise was a gift.
Absolutely not.
That's your defense. Is that right?
Yeah.
When were you planning to go on this cruise, Miss Power?
The first cruise on Regal Cruises, we were going June 29th of 2003.
And where were you going?
We were going from New York to Canada.
Kathy, how much did you pay for that cruise for you and your 2 children? Was it 3 people going?
I paid $906, but that wasn't a full total.
When did you pay that money?
Throughout January to May of 2003.
Great. When were you advised, Miss Power, that the cruise was canceled?
I was advised in May of 2003.
And did you rebook another cruise?
Yes, I did.
For the same period of time?
For the same period of time. Just one day earlier, we were going to leave than previously planned.
And was that a more expensive cruise?
A few $100s more.
So what happened? You went on the cruise in June?
We went on the cruise. We had a great time. I got a refund back in February of 2004.
Did you call your daughter and ask her if she had gotten a refund back?
Yes, I was very excited I got my refund, but she didn't seem to be as excited. And she just called me up a few days later, and she said to me, now she didn't say she got her check back. She said that when she gets her check back, she'd like to use it to go to Florida on another vacation. And I said, absolutely no. I want my money back.
And she said?
And she said that no, she wasn't giving it back to me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary Power says her daughter, Catherine Power, owes for a cruise from New York to Canada. Catherine says she's a struggling single mom, and the cruise was a gift.
Give me your version of the events that led to your belief that this was a gift to you.
The first cruise that...
19-year-old Ashley Baum is suing her former live-in boyfriend, 20-year-old Ross Welty, for utility bills and rent. Ross says Valerie destroyed his belongings.
Yeah, this is case number 345 on the calendar in the matter of Baum versus Welty. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Baum, you and Mr. Welty lived together for a while. You signed a 6-month lease, and then you moved out.
Yes.
Leaving a couple of months left to go on the lease, you believe Mr. Welty should be responsible for paying the rent on the apartment.
Yes.
Mr. Welty says that you left. It was not your agreement.
He's kicked me out.
He's paid enough. And he says that you came back into the apartment when he was not there and vandalized the apartment. He knows it was you because you admit, to which you are responding yes. Did you
Yes.
vandalize his apartment?
Yes.
When did you vandalize his apartment?
Like 2 days after I moved out.
Why did you vandalize his apartment?
Well, because in our lease it said that he was not allowed to have anybody else move in, and he had his friend move in. And so I took his friend's stuff and I put it outside.
Why wouldn't you want his friend to move in to be responsible for half the rent?
Because he wasn't paying. He would not pay the rent at all.
Who would not?
He wouldn't and his friend wouldn't.
How do you know that?
Because he wasn't working.
What about his friend?
He was barely working.
So you took his friend's stuff and you put it outside where?
In the parking lot.
You can't do that. Isn't that a nice thing to do?
I know.
Well, at least you told me the truth. You see that? Did you do anything else in the apartment while you were there?
No.
Didn't rip out anything with a knife or anything else?
It was my stuff.
What did you rip with a knife?
Pillowcase.
What were you in such a bad mood about, Miss Baum?
That was the day I moved out of the apartment, and I just got off of work. He wasn't working at all. As soon as I came home, he was like, well, I'm going out. I told him he wasn't, and he left anyway. He called my dad, and my dad came and picked me up, and I moved out of the apartment.
Now, Mr. Welty, you weren't working.
Oh, man.
Is there any reason why you weren't working?
Just couldn't exactly find a job that I wanted to keep.
Well, who'd you expect to support you?
I didn't expect nobody to support me at all.
Well, somebody's had to pay the rent. Who was paying the rent?
She was.
That means she was supporting you.
Yeah, until that point.
Well, then, listen to me, Mr. Welty. How old are you?
20.
You want me to think that you're an intelligent young man, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
When somebody's paying your bills, they're supporting you. Why should this young lady support you?
Well, I gave
You're
her
not
money.
that cute.
I gave her money all the way up to the time I kicked her out in June.
How much money did you give her?
Half the rent, $320.
Even when you weren't working?
Yeah.
So let's say you gave her half the rent up until the time you, according to you, kicked her out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you kicked her out of the apartment, I assume you kicked her out because you said, I'm going out with my friends, and she says, no, you're not, because you're not working, I'm working. And when I come home, I don't want you to tell me you're going out hanging around with your friends. I assume that's what was going on in your head.
Yes.
And what was going on in your head is nobody controls me, I go where I want to go.
Nah, she's crazy.
Well, that's not crazy, sir.
No.
Let me tell you something. If I had a boyfriend who was laying home eating bonbons all day, watching soap operas and Judge Judy at the appropriate time, and I came home from working all day and he said to me, I'm going to hang out with my buddies,
It wasn't
really,
like that,
listen
though.
to me,
It was not like that.
it would really annoy me.
But it wasn't like that. She come home, I would go out, I'd come back home, she'd break everything.
Well, why did you think she was mad at you, sir?
Because I'd go out for an hour with my friends.
Where'd you go?
It would just be like my dad's house. Usually, that's where I always go, to my dad's. And she don't let me go to my dad's house. She don't let me going nowhere.
Oh, you should be happy if you went to Mars.
Well, I was working
Listen
3
to
jobs.
me, and you got a hot temper anyway. You know, I could tell, Miss Baum, that you got a hot temper because you went inside and you cut up the joint. So, but bottom line is, you told her to leave. You called her father and said, come and get her.
Yeah, basically.
Well, then if that's what you did, then you're responsible for the rent.
I don't think I'm responsible for really anything, because the way she is.
Well, you're wrong there.
I
You're wrong there, Prince.
don't think so.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
If you have an apartment and you sign a lease, a 6-month lease, and you throw out, lock out, get rid of the person who is responsible for the other half of the rent, you pay for it yourself. Now, who did you move in?
I didn't move anybody. My friend James was going to stay with me for like 2
Good.
nights.
So James was going to stay with you, not because you were afraid of the dark, right?
No. Because he just moved back from Colorado at the time. He's right. That was it. He was not going to stay longer than that. And she knows that.
What kind of work did you do?
I did security.
They should have more stringent licensing laws for security people. How old were you when you left school? Quiet! How old were you when you left school?
17.
Did you graduate?
Yes, ma'am.
After you graduated, what did you do?
Worked at Walmart for a while, and then I did security.
What kind of security do you work?
Industrial, like shipyards.
Why weren't you working last year?
Because, well, I quit that job because I went to England in March.
What did you go to England for?
That's where my mother lives.
How long did you stay?
2 weeks.
How much you stuck for on the time that was left on the lease?
It was $3,675.09.
For how many months?
From July till September, and then June.
When did you move out?
June 1st.
When did the lease expire, in December?
July 15th.
You moved out in June?
Yes.
So that's a month.
She never took her name off the lease.
He didn't go to the leasing office. We're supposed to sign a paper saying we're moving out 2 months before, and he never went and did that. So we had 2 more extra months of rent to pay.
She never got her name taken off the lease at all.
Taken. She never got herself taken off the lease.
Mm-hmm.
When did you know she had not taken her name off the lease?
She was never, I mean...
Did you know that all along?
Yeah, I still talk to her.
Just listen to me.
I still
Just
talk to her
answer
every
my
day.
questions. Don't speak until I ask you a question. Then you answer the question, then I ask you another question. Do you understand? When did you know that she was still liable on the lease? Did you know it all the time?
Yes, ma'am.
When you decided to stay beyond July, you stayed in August?
I told her...
So listen to me. Just answer my question. Did you stay in August?
For like half the month.
That's August. Did you pay August's rent?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because I told her that she could have the apartment. I didn't want to be there. I wasn't even living there myself.
You just said you stayed there until mid-August.
No, my stuff was... I never stayed there.
If your stuff is there, you're there, Prince. If
told
your
her she could
stuff
move
is
back
there, you're there.
I told her she could move back in, so I didn't want to be there.
Oh, you are such an idiot. It's really very, very hard. Who do you work for now?
Who I work for now? It's a golf course.
Doing what?
Customer service. Just drive around a golf cart all day.
That sounds like a perfect job for you. Miss Baum, I want you to listen to me very carefully. He may be responsible for 4 months. I'm only charging him for 3. I'm charging you for a month for your stupidity in hooking up with him.
She still does, by the way.
Does she?
Yeah,
No.
she still does. 2 weeks ago.
Well, I want to tell you something, Mr. Welty. I don't get it. There must be something in your cologne that I don't get from here to there. Because quite frankly, Miss Baum, I don't get it. Is what he's telling me accurate, that you two socialized 2 weeks ago? Is that what you're telling me?
We socialized, but not anymore. I'm over it.
All I want to know is, did you socialize with him 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
I should have charged you for more than the month. Sometimes you got to pay for being dumb. Understand that?
Yes.
So if you got to pay a month's rent, you got to pay for a month's rent. You should have taken your name off the lease. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,920. Who is this?
My mother.
I can't say to you, go home and give her a good beating. You know, she's too big for that. But somebody's got to put some sense into her head.
Can I say something?
Yes.
My husband hired him to work for us so that he would have a job. He couldn't even keep that.
Listen to me. He's challenged. He can't help himself. He really can't help himself. He's going to find his own water level. Right now, driving around in a golf cart sounds perfect for him. And your daughter, if she's working 3 jobs and trying to make something of herself, then you should be very grateful that he's out of the picture. The only problem is she keeps going back for some unearthly reason. I'm just trying to figure out what the reason is.
Me too.
Well, then try to convince your daughter that this is not something that she wants to attach herself onto. Because if she attaches herself onto somebody who's challenged, she's going to have children who are challenged. God forbid. That's all. Step out.
Crystal Reagan is suing her cousin, Amy Ross, for stealing cash from her home. Amy denies the charge.
Miss Reagan, Miss Ross is your cousin, and it is your claim that she stole some money from your house.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Ross denies that she stole the money from your house. How much money do you claim she stole?
$380.
And when do you claim she stole that money?
December the 17th.
And where was the money?
It was in this folder. I've got a table by my chair, and it's right behind the table.
It was in your house?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was in the house?
My husband, myself, Justin had come over to get some gas money.
Justin is your nephew?
And then Amy.
And what proof do you have, Miss Reagan, that Miss Ross took your money?
Well, what it is that day she come over,
Justin had coming over. He called first, said, could he come over and get some gas money? I keep up with all of his bills because he's young. He don't know how to do it yet. I've got a car with my name on it that's his, and...
I got it. So he wanted to come over and get some gas money that you were holding for him.
Yes. He came over, got $35, which left $380. I keep a book where I write down every time he comes over to get money. And he got it, he left. Amy was there. She asked me, why does he come over here to get gas money? I explained to her I keep his money. For what reason? Well, how much does he got in there? And I said just $380.
I'm sorry.
And then after asking me that, I didn't think anything of it. She was like, well, it must be nice to be 17, have a brand new car, a nice apartment, and have money. And I was like, well, he's just getting started. That was the end of that. She stayed a total probably about 3 hours that day. We did go to Lowe's probably about 3 hours after her being there.
Who went?
Me and Amy.
Two of you?
The two of us, yeah. And she was talking about, in that time frame, how broke she was. She didn't have any money. She was getting one more check before Christmas and wasn't able to get her kids anything for Christmas. Didn't know if she had gas money to get back home. But when we went to Lowe's, she bought a hammer and pulled out a $10 bill, which I didn't think nothing of it either. You know, I say I'm broke all the time, but still have money. And so she dropped me off. I didn't talk to her no more for about 3 days.
And then you found your money missing?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the proof that you have?
Well, no, that's just the story. The proof is that whenever I called Lisa, her sister, to ask her, did you and Amy happen to have went shopping? Do you know of any money? Because we all know that she's broke. Do you happen to know of any money that she come up with recently? She didn't answer the phone. I left a message. I didn't tell her anything. I just told her to call me. When she did call me, she was like, oh, girl, I know what's going on. Amy done told me all about it. And then that's when she comes in.
Tell me your last name.
Durham.
Miss Durham, what do you know about this missing money?
Amy had called me, and we just were talking, and I said, well, oh, Christy had called this morning. She left a message. I need to call her back. And she just said, oh, girl, I know why she called. She thinks I stole her money. And I said, what? And she said she thinks I stole her money, but I didn't do it. And she's threatened to get fingerprints off that book. And the only time I touched that book was to get paper out of it to get to make a Christmas list for my children.
And she said that she had told me that on the initial call whenever I called her to ask her about that, because I did ask my husband about it first, and then I asked Justin, are you sure you did not take any money out of this folder? And I knew he didn't, but I knew I needed to ask first before I called Amy to ask her about it. And all she did was just go off, fly off the handle, say, no, I didn't take it. I can't believe you accused me of that. And I said, well, all I'm saying is my brother-in-law is a sergeant. I'm going to have it fingerprinted because it is plastic. Bluffing the whole time, hoping she would come up and say, well, you know, and then she told her, kind of like giving her a reason why her fingerprints would be on it. But she never told me that.
That was the reason why.
What was the reason why? You went into that folder.
Okay.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
You went into the folder to get some addresses for
well,
a Christmas
I was
list?
sitting in her rocking chair in her house.
I don't care where you were sitting. I don't care if you were sitting on a stool, on the floor, or whatever.
No,
My question to you is a simple one. You went into the folder to get a Christmas list.
No, not to get a Christmas list, to get a piece of paper to make a Christmas list.
Okay.
Is what happened.
Good. I have a few questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you live with?
I live by myself.
Where are your children?
They're with me.
Have they always been with you?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are they?
They're 8 and 5.
And how do you support them?
I'm a preschool teacher, and also their father.
How much do you make teaching?
I make about $1,500 a month.
How long have you been teaching?
For 6 months.
Prior to that, where were you working?
I was working at a temporary service.
You have a bachelor's degree?
No. I'm just a preschool teacher at a daycare.
Is this your first job as a preschool?
Yes, ma'am. Well, no, I've worked at another daycare prior to this one.
Did you take the money out of that folder?
No, ma'am, I didn't. And what I have to defend myself on this is I didn't take that money, and she knows I didn't take that money.
She doesn't know. Listen to me. She doesn't know. You may not have taken it.
I didn't.
But she doesn't know.
And I don't have to steal money from my children.
Listen to me.
If I need money, I go to their father.
Listen to me. She doesn't know that you didn't take it, because my sense is that she legitimately believes that you took it.
And then she called my work, harassing me. She harassed my boss. She said, because I'm going to let you speak with her because she's in a classroom. She said,
Don't tell me what, listen to me, don't tell me what you said to your boss.
Well, she called me at work, and when it first happened, she called me, because this supposedly I went over there on a Sunday. She called me on Thursday morning, about 11.
Okay.
At work.
Now, that's my question. This happened on December 17th, according to you.
Yes, that's when the money was taken.
When did you find the money missing?
The following Thursday. Because
Too long a time, Miss Reagan.
Well, what it is Justin.
Too long a time, Miss Reagan.
And she called me threatening to take my kids away from me.
Listen.
Yes, you did.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you anymore. Cry quietly. Okay. It's too long a time, Miss Reagan, between the time that she was in your house and the time you found the money missing. You may say that the only people that were in the house were you and your husband and Justin, but I'm not sure of that. Do you have children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
3.
How old are they?
12-year-old, I got an 8-year-old, and a 9-year-old.
And only
and they also live in the house?
Yes.
I don't know who took your money.
Well, can I explain why it was Thursday when I found it?
I don't care why it was Thursday. It was Thursday. The fact that it was Thursday is dispositive, not the fact that you waited until Thursday. I have to determine whether or not there were other people who had access to that folder. According to you, the folder is not locked. It's in plain view in your house. You have 3 children, a 12-year-old.
That didn't even know I could
Listen to me. Whether they know or not, children snoop. So I would say to you that without proof, the first person that shouldn't come into your mind is her. If I were missing money in my house, the first person that I would look at is my 12-year-old. Now, that may sound terrible to you. It's just a fact of life. That's it. So, in any event, as far as the courts are concerned, you need proof positive, dispositive proof that somebody is a thief. And I, quite frankly, don't find the proof here. Nor should you. When there are lots of people who have access to that folder. Does your 12-year-old have friends over occasionally?
No.
I don't believe that.
He don't.
Well, I don't believe that. Then you're not a very good mother if you don't let your 12-year-old have friends over. So I don't quite believe that. In any event, you may or may not owe her an apology. She certainly doesn't owe you any money. That's all. The case is dismissed.
19-year-old Lila Zamani is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old Logan Winborn, for an unpaid loan for bail and for urinating on her laptop while sleepwalking.
Ms. Zamani, the defendant was your boyfriend. It is your claim that he owes you money for 2 things. First, that he damaged your laptop computer, and second, that you bailed him out of jail and he did not return the bail money to you, as agreed. Mr. Winborn says that he never agreed to return the bail money to you and that he did not damage the computer, right? No. You do understand, Mr. Winborn, you're going to be at least partially sorry that you came here today.
Right.
You do understand that?
Yeah, I understand that.
I just like everybody to be prepared. You know, I don't like to ambush you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lila Zamani says ex-boyfriend Logan Winborn owes for a loan for bail money and the cost to replace a laptop computer.
Let's deal with the easy things first, please. When did she bail you out of jail and for what?
It was probably around 7 months ago.
When?
August 31st.
Were you living together at the time?
No, we weren't.
4.
Disorderly conduct. We got in an argument, and I went down to...
The 2 of you got into an
yeah.
argument?
The neighbors called the police. The police showed up. I was kind of throwing a fit in the street, and they took me to jail.
What do you mean you were throwing a fit in the street?
I was just kind of... I was stopping traffic and stuff.
Were you on drugs?
I was, yeah, I was drinking, so...
Is this the first time you were arrested?
No, I've been arrested a few times before.
For what?
For disorderly conduct, mostly.
You drink or you use drugs?
I used drugs, and I did drink.
Okay. Did you call Miss Zamani from jail?
Yes, I did.
What did you say to her?
I asked if she could bail me out.
And she did?
Mm-hmm.
And how much did it cost you?
$2,932.
Did you go to court on the date that you were supposed to, Mr.
Yes, I
Winborn?
did. Yeah.
And was that case resolved?
Yes, it was. All the charges were dropped.
Did you get your bail back?
Yes, I did. At that time...
Just a second. I'll ask questions. Don't editorialize.
Sure.
Did you get it back in a check?
Yeah, I got it back in a check.
What did you do with it?
I got my own place to stay.
You weren't together to begin with at the time you called her for the bail.
At that time, we were planning on moving in with each other.
You weren't together with her at the time, according to you.
Well, this is what kind of broke us up, is the money is what the arguments were beginning to be about. So we weren't together at the time that I got the money back.
So why didn't you give her the money? It wasn't your money, it was hers.
Because I was planning on moving in, and that didn't happen because
Do you understand why you're going to get a little bit humiliated here today, sir?
Yeah.
You understand? Because you're going to give me an answer and you're going to sound like a moron. A big-time moron.
Do you want me to continue with the story?
No.
No? Okay.
So I am to understand that she paid your bail, almost $3,000. You resolved your case, you got a check for the bail, and you didn't give her the money.
No, I didn't.
Well, I'm waiting for an excuse that Bird can understand.
Well, the check did come back in my name, although that's not an excuse. But I need a place to live. I'd rather be in jail than to be
Go to a shelter.
homeless. You know what I mean?
Go to a shelter.
Shelter.
Yeah, go to a shelter. How old are you?
21.
21. You have parents?
Yeah, they live down Southern California. So.
I don't care where they live. You have parents. Do they hate you?
Not extremely.
Not extremely. That's an answer. Not extremely. Do you have siblings?
Yes, I do.
How old are they?
32 and 23.
Do they hate you?
No, they don't.
So you have options. Your options aren't to steal from Miss Zamani. That's not an option. The money was hers. She laid it out. She was to get it back. So far we have $2,932. Now you can tell me about this nonsense about the computer.
Well, I woke up one morning.
What morning?
A week before May 14th, and the computer was drenched in a liquid, and Logan had spent the night, and I had to let it air dry for a few days, and I took it to a computer shop, and they said it would cost more to fix the computer than to buy a new one.
Well, so how do you know he did it?
He has a history of watering things in his sleep.
What do you mean watering things? You mean he urinates some things?
Yeah, okay.
Miss Zamani, listen to me. If this happened in May and you were still looking at him in August, that's your problem. I mean, if you say that he has a history because he uses drugs, abuses alcohol, so he doesn't know what he's doing, and he waters the world while he's under the influence, you stayed with him. It's almost like assumption of risk. But he owes you for bail. That he owes you for. Anything else you want to say to me, Mr. Winborn?
I've only really watered tomato plants and trees.
Mr. Winborn, I don't find you amusing. I think that there's a reason your parents don't like you. I have enough children. I have enough children. I always love them. Sometimes I like them more than other times, right? I don't like you at all. So I'm really quite sympathetic with your parents because they probably invested a great deal of time and effort in you. And look what they got. Judgment for the plaintiff, and that's all. Out!
Audrey Decker says her ex-roommates Trista Gray and Mark Robertson owe for bills and a rental deposit. Audrey also claims the couple falsely accused her of smoking pot.
Miss Decker, you and the defendants were roommates in an apartment or a house?
Correct. It was a two-bedroom apartment above the downtown plaza.
And you met each other at work?
Yes, we did.
Okay, that's all.
We're co-workers.
Sure. Signed the lease when?
On August 21st of last year. I have that with me if you'd like to see it.
Okay, and when did you move out?
It was January.
January what?
9th.
And you claim they moved out owing you money?
Yes, they did.
There's lots of other things that you're claiming, some of which is nonsense, but you claim that they owe you some money. One of the things that they owe you money for is that they had not paid their entire security deposit.
They had not paid the deposit
Just answer
back.
my question.
Yes, they had not
They
paid
had not
part.
paid the entire security deposit. You paid it, they were supposed to pay you back, and there was some money outstanding.
Correct.
When they moved out on January 9th, 2008, in what condition was the apartment?
There were some burn marks in the carpet in the bedroom that they were in. There's nail holes, things that weren't there before.
Okay, do you have photographs of the burns on the carpet?
No, I do not.
Were there burns on the carpet?
There might have been. We did smoke in the bedroom, yes.
Okay. Because if there was no damage to the apartment, then of course I would say to the plaintiff, you're going to get the security deposit back, so they don't have to pay you any more security deposit. But if there was damage that you did to the apartment, then you have to pay your half of the security deposit, because in all probability, the landlord is going to make her replace the carpet and charge her. Is that reasonable?
It is, but we don't believe we owe her anything because we have overpaid her on deposit.
Show me.
We don't have any proof of it, but we overpaid her over the deposit. We do believe we have.
Well, show me. What do you mean we believe?
We don't have
What did you poke him for? You want him to say something?
We don't have any proof because we did pay her. We believe we did.
How much did they pay you in the security?
They paid me $360. The arrangement was I
How
paid
much was the security deposit? Let's do
The $300 was what I put down that day for the deposit.
In total?
In total.
So they owed you $150?
No, the way it was we had our bills split 3 ways. Deb Schultz is a witness to that, that we agreed to split all bills, including electric, cable, deposit, rent, everything.
3, that they owed you $600? I want to know how much they owed initially for the security deposit, Ms. Decker.
They owed $200 initially, but they did not have money at the time.
I understand
so
that.
I paid it all.
I understand that.
Okay.
How much did they give you towards the $200 in security deposit that they owed?
They gave me $360. They paid my part of the rent for September, October, November, and December, which was $90. And they also were paying me back for the $200 that I put down in the beginning to help buy food and everything because they, once again, didn't have any. So the total was $500. They paid $360 out of that by paying the rent.
So according to you, they owe $140 in security deposit?
Right. That's what they have left over from that particular amount, right.
What else do you think they owe you for?
They owe me for the cable and electric for the time which they were there from November to December because we had backed bills.
Just 1 second. They left January 9th. Did they pay January's rent?
They paid January's rent, correct.
Good. Okay, because they should have paid January's rent because they were there until the 9th, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Why did you move out?
We couldn't handle her anymore. She became overpowering.
Okay, so there was a problem.
Correct.
You have bills showing that there were balances as of December 31st on any of the utilities?
I do.
Show me.
That's electric. This is cable. I have the amounts highlighted that I paid, and this is the receipt for the electric that I paid my share of. All that's left is what they have to pay.
When was the last time you paid utilities?
I paid utilities last
month.
month.
No, I'm talking to you.
Oh.
We didn't pay them.
No. You're showing me a bill from January 12th, 08 to February 11th, 08. They weren't living there then.
Right. That's what was due before.
Oh, balance brought forward $62.
Uh-huh.
62. So they owe $40.
No, the whole balance, the 164, is what was owed from the months before.
No,
It
that's
was-
not true.
The $150 is what we
That's
ultimately
not
paid.
true. Not according to this. According to this, payments received was $150.
$150 was what was paid. $62.19 was what was left over as a back balance.
$62.19 was what was left over from that bill. The other money is for the current service, which was from January 12th, 08 until February 11th, 08. I can read a bill.
Okay. Well.
So they owe $40 on this. Okay. The City of Fairmount Public Utilities was $364.
Correct.
And they're supposed to pay 2/3 of that.
Right.
Okay, so they owe you $280 in utilities and $140 for their security deposit. And what else do you think that they owe you for?
For slander.
Go ahead.
They told my boyfriend's mom here, Deb Schultz, that I was smoking marijuana, and that led to a lot of tension between him and I. We actually almost broke up over it because he disagrees with it along with drinking.
Did you tell this lady that she was smoking marijuana?
No, we did not. We do not have her number in any way. We don't have any problem with Deb Schultz in any way. She has been very helpful with the apartment in the beginning. Like I said, we do not have her phone number.
Your last name is?
Schultz.
You are the mother of the
her
boyfriend.
Yes.
Go ahead. Well, who called you?
I ran into them.
Oh, so nobody called?
No. I ran into them. They
When?
told me in December sometime.
Okay.
And they told me that Audrey was using drugs. So my
Did
son,
you ask what kind?
Yes, and she told me it was marijuana. And my son is really against girlfriends using any kind of drugs or alcohol.
So now she says it wasn't by phone, it was when you ran into each other. Did that happen?
I do not recall that.
Well, she does. Why would she lie about that?
I don't know, but I do not recall that.
Did she use marijuana while you were living together?
Yes, she did.
When?
Well, we were at a friend's house, and I was in the bedroom with my friend, with her daughter, watching a movie. And she was in there with my friend's boyfriend and Mark, and they were having a conversation about using marijuana, and Mark overheard it.
Overheard what?
Overheard the conversation about them using drugs. And Audrey had asked Mark not to tell me. On the way home, he told me.
What did you overhear, sir?
They were talking about hiding it, not letting me see it, but then giving it to my friend's boyfriend. And
But in all the time that you lived together with the plaintiff, she never smoked marijuana in your presence.
No.
What are you poking him for?
I didn't.
Not to my knowledge, but
Well, you would not to your knowledge. You have eyes.
she would hide it. She would go out with friends, and
Don't tell me what she would hide it, sir. I'm asking you a very simple question. You never saw her smoke marijuana while she was in your presence.
no, ma'am.
Did you? No. First of all, they don't always get things right when they hear things. Is this your boyfriend?
Yes.
Step away from her for a second. That's fine. Have you ever said something to him and then a week later you say, don't you remember I told you that? And he says, you never said that to me. You told me this. So you never said that to you? That never happened?
Sometimes it happens.
Oh,
but
listen.
More than likely he pays attention because...
But I'm just asking you. Never said to you, you didn't say that? That's not what I heard. I don't remember you telling me we had this date. I don't remember you telling me your mother was coming over. I don't remember you telling me we're going out with your sister. None of that. No.
No.
It'll happen. They don't always get it right. And to have relied on that statement to make that statement to her boyfriend's mother was probably not good judgment.
Well, he wouldn't lie to me about marijuana because he knows my stance on it. He knows I disagree with it.
Well, and if you said to me that I saw her smoking marijuana in the I smelled it in the house, that's another story. But for all you know, she could be puffing and she could be showing off for a friend. You don't know that that's true. You lived together for 5 months and you never saw any evidence of it in your home. Saw, smelled, felt, right?
Correct.
So you probably should have kept your nose in your own business.
But we did have a conversation about her drug usage a while after that night at my friend's house, and she had admitted to doing it.
What did she say to you?
And she said she was going to continue doing it because she liked it. And I told her I do not agree with it.
Fine. You don't have to agree with it. You're not her moral police. As long as she's not doing it in your home. It's not your business, but that's not slander.
No, what happened was...
It's not slander.
Okay. Well, I was talking about a different incident.
Well,
there's something also very different that happened with work.
Do you have witnesses from work?
I do not have witnesses from work, but I do have my suspension paper. I got suspended because they were very good friends with this guy at work.
Listen to me.
Who?
That's all hearsay.
Even though I have a document saying that I was suspended?
Okay, whether you were suspended or not, I have to have a witness to tell me why you were suspended.
Well, the paper says why.
How do I know if the information they got from them is the only reason that they had to think that you were using drugs? How do I know that? That's not legal in a court. You can't use that as evidence in a court. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, fine. They owe you $320 for their share of the security deposit and the bills that they have. And next time, you have to be careful when you talk about somebody else's reputation. Do you understand? That's all.
Samantha Cameron is suing ex-boyfriend Christopher Potts for the return of furniture and appliances, as well as rent money and a security deposit. Christopher claims he owes her nothing.
Miss Cameron, you and Mr. Potts were in a relationship. According to your complaint, you decided to relocate with him. You got a job opportunity in Florida. You went down to Florida, two of you found an apartment, you put down a deposit, first month's rent, and Mr. Potts went down to Florida before you did.
Correct.
When he got there, he had a change of heart. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you have a change of heart, sir?
Well, because at the time she wasn't actively looking for a job in Florida, and I didn't feel like she would be a real reliable person to share all the bills with.
So you were sort of looking for a solid business partner?
Well, I didn't want to put myself in a hole. It would have been easier for me to take care of myself versus me taking care of myself, another person, and a small child.
Because you have a daughter who was relocating with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, Mr. Potts, how much money did she put down on the apartment?
I'm not sure exact dollar figure.
You know the exact dollar figure?
Yes, ma'am. It was $877.50.
So my question to you, Mr. Potts, is what arrangements did you make to get her back her $877?
Well, there really wasn't at first any arrangement because the money that she put down towards the apartment is basically money that I put towards the cost of the moving.
Well, because you were supposed to move.
Well, I was moving.
You both were moving.
Right. If we're both moving, then we both should be coming out of pocket for money.
Well, how much did you pay for all the moving of her stuff, sir?
All right, I had purchased their shipping containers where you load them up yourself. Well, originally I only needed one. The pods were originally $850 a piece. I had paid the $850, and to get an additional pod was $850, so $1,700.
Show me that you paid for $1,700, sir. Show me.
I can't.
Why not?
Because I don't have the receipts for that.
Where'd you think you were coming to today? To the beach?
Well, that was 7 months ago, so.
7 months ago is a minute, sir. So, I'm going to ask you again, what arrangements did you make to get her back her money, $877?
Well, I paid over $900 to ship her stuff back, which...
As well you should.
I don't agree.
Well, I don't give a rat's behind whether you agree or not. Whether you agree with me, Mr. Potts, is not particularly relevant in my life. That's why you come to court. I don't believe you, sir, that you paid $1,700 for a pod for you and for her.
For two of them. They're $850 a piece.
What I'm telling you, sir, is show me. Other than your great looks, Mr. Potts, what you have to do is have proof. Proof is a receipt, a paid bill for exactly what it was, and you don't have it.
No, I don't.
Right. You chose to breach the agreement that you had by telling her once she had sent down her stuff that you didn't want her to move there for your own reasons.
No, for the reasons that it was better for everybody.
Fine. Listen to me. That's a judgment that you made. Fine. But then, once you have made that judgment, what you have to do is make Miss Cameron whole. Whole.
Which I did by sending her the
I'm
line.
speaking when my mouth moves, yours doesn't. By making Miss Cameron whole, you have to return her property to her at your expense. It would be untoward of you to think that you changed your mind and now you say you want your stuff back. You have to pay for the shipping of it back to New Jersey. That's ridiculous, Mr. Potts. Now, I believe him that he packed up your boxes and sent them back, that he spent money, as well he should, because it was his option to change his mind, thereby voiding the agreement that you had to move in together. Now, if you want these other items, washer, dryer, table, and chairs, you can make arrangements to get them at your expense. Do you understand? Because I don't think you really want.
That was part of our agreement.
Well, it's unfortunate. I don't know if I believe you. In any event, he owes you $877, which was your down payment. Have you sent it?
No, ma'am, I have not.
Send it. Judgment for the plaintiff, $877. Thank you. That's all.
20-year-old Robert Aiken is suing his ex-fiancée, 22-year-old Cheryl Smith, for unpaid bills and late fees. Cheryl claims Robert is obsessed with her.
Mr. Aiken, Miss Smith was your fiancée for a period of time. I assume you lived together for a period of time. And it is your claim that you put some money into her checking account in order to pay some bills.
Correct.
You broke up and she put a stop payment on the bills you had paid. Well,
Yeah, she did it online. She stopped all payments.
I don't understand how you do that. I like that little checkbook. You write it out, you deposit it. I don't understand the online stuff, but you want that money back.
Correct.
Ms. Smith said nothing could be farther from the truth. You put money into the account. You did pay bills with the money you put into the account. You started to pay some more bills with money that you hadn't put into the account, so she put a stop payment on those bills. She has a counterclaim. She says that at some point immediately preceding your breaking up, she covered the entire rent because you were short, so that you owe her for rent. And in addition, and more importantly, she says that since the breakup, you've been involved in some serious harassment. So the money part should be relatively easy. How much money did you put into her account?
Total, two checks of $420 and $316.84, so $736.84.
When?
The $420 was put in on August 12th, and the $316.84 was put in August 11th.
When had you covered the rent, Ms. Smith?
I wrote the check on August 1st.
And how much was the rent?
$662.70.
Was it your responsibility to pay the rent?
We both paid the rent. It was joint money.
Immediately prior to the 11th of August, when did you make your preceding deposit in her bank account?
I would give her cash when I got my check because she was writing all the checks for bills. So I would just cash and stuff of that nature. I have no proof of it. Sorry. I'm a hand person.
Now, he put in the $736. What bills did he pay with it?
Well, my counterclaim is I have bills that total $548.44 that I paid for him, in addition to the rent for $662.70.
It wasn't like a split right down the middle. We were
Well,
just
it should be. It's all sounding very good for Miss Smith, Mr. Aiken. What I want to know is, did she make payments for you in the amount of $548? To whom?
She made certain bills.
To whom?
There was a $200 payment to his father.
That was to your father.
That's correct.
What, do you owe him money?
A car payment. It's in his name.
Go ahead.
$63.94 for his Comcast bill.
Uh-huh.
I also have penalties in which I was charged in order to stop the 3 payments that he was unauthorized to make.
Just a second. I want to know what the payments were that you made, not the fees. The payments were that you made.
And without the penalties, there were bills totaling $196 made prior.
Made prior to when?
Prior to August 1st for him.
Forget it. You paid $263 that you can account for, not $548. You know, you look like butter with melt in her mouth. You know, you keep turning it around, and she becomes a more interesting character. 736 minus 263, $473. That's what's left over. Now, we're going to say that he owes you half for the rent, because that's part of your counterclaim. So we're going to take off $330 from that. $143 you owe him. You got it?
Now, what about the payments that she stopped, though?
Good, she stopped them. Good, she should stop them. $143. Gets expensive when you play house. Now I want to hear about the harassment, because that troubled me. You say that he called you over 100 times in a short period of time?
That is correct.
Let me see. Why do you keep calling her, Mr. Aiken?
There were different occasions equaling up to it. I was trying to call her in the beginning to try to get some of the money without going to court. And then from time to time, she would be like, okay, well, I'll pay you something. And she'd be like, well, let's meet up here. And say we say at 1 o'clock, it'd be like 1:30, 2 o'clock. So I'd call her. She'd be like, yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. So it's just different phone calls basically trying to resolve this money issue.
Well, but I'm looking at it.
It's just continuous.
For instance, I'm looking on the 23rd of August after another. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 18 calls, one right after another.
That would just, as far as that was
Were you
just...
leaving messages on her machine?
No, I didn't leave voicemails. I left, I think, maybe one voicemail. The rest where she'd pick up the phone and then she'd hang it up, and I'd try to get back to her and talk to her, trying to...
She doesn't want to talk to you.
I understand that.
Well, but when do you start getting that message, Mr. Aiken, that she doesn't want to talk to you? If, according to you, she picks up the phone and hangs up, she doesn't want to talk to you.
I was just trying to get money, like I said, with these bills,
You
the credit
kept
cards
annoying
and
her.
cell phones. When the payments got stopped,
You
they shut off
kept
the cell
annoying
phone.
her. Since August, have there been any further calls?
Not since the personal protection order was issued.
Okay, do you have a copy of that?
Absolutely.
Let me see. Was it a permanent order or a temporary order?
It holds for 1 year.
So you consented to this, sir?
Yeah.
Well, if you consented to it, of necessity, the judge had to say to you, you're entitled to a trial, right?
Yeah, we showed up and had a hearing.
Oh, you had a hearing, so the judge found you guilty of harassing her.
Yeah, I told him the story, and I told him the phone calls, and he gave it to her.
Okay, but after that, you stopped.
Yeah, I have not contacted her since.
Anything else you want to tell me about your counterclaim, Ms. Smith?
Yes. As far as for the harassment, this has seriously been going on for a long time. Numerous phone calls and numerous times showing up at my place of employment, numerous times threatening my child, numerous times threatening me. He's physically assaulted me.
After he physically assaulted you, did you remain in the relationship?
No.
When, according to you, was the first time that he physically became violent with you?
On August 7th.
So that was about the time that you were breaking up?
That is correct.
Okay, so this wasn't a history, as you indicated?
No.
Fine. And what did he do to you on the 7th?
On the 7th, he shoved me into a wall and left me captive in the closet of our apartment until I had talked to him.
I don't understand that.
Our closet is a small room. I was in there actually packing some clothes, and he stood in the doorway and refused to allow me to leave.
So he kept you captive there?
Correct.
Because he wanted to talk to you?
Correct.
He's over it. You get over it. He's finished, right?
Correct.
Going to stay away from her? Going to get you $148?
Correct.
Leave her alone?
Without question.
You made a bad choice. Put a period. Move on. Counterclaim is dismissed. That's right.
23-year-old Andrew Geraldson says his former friend, Brett Spielman, slashed 3 of his tires. Andrew claims his mother witnessed the incident.
Ms. Powers, this is your son?
Yes.
According to your complaint, your son and the defendant had been friends.
Correct.
They were out together one evening. There was a falling out. Later that evening, according to you, the defendant slashed 3 of the tires on your car.
Correct.
You want him to be responsible for replacing them. Mr. Spielman says he didn't do it. What's your first name?
Andrew.
How old are you, Andrew?
23.
How long do you know Mr. Spielman?
I've known Mr. Spielman since about the 7th grade.
On what night were you out together, the night that the tires were slashed?
I believe it was a Friday night. I don't remember the exact
Remember the
date.
night?
29th, I think.
29th of?
December.
Where had you been?
We were on our way to Randy White's brother-in-law's boss's house.
You were driving?
Yes, I was driving.
What happened in the car?
An argument started because Brett Spielman wanted to get some marijuana and everybody else in the car was against that. And
Where did he want to go to get the marijuana?
To his dealer's house.
And did you know where that was?
No, I did not.
Did he tell you where it was?
No, he did not.
Was it on the way?
I hadn't even agreed to it, so he didn't get to the point of telling me where it was
Well,
at.
tell me exactly what he said.
He said, I want to go get some pot. Can you take me? And I said, no, and nobody else in this car wants to do that. Can you please stop with that altogether?
How many other people were in the car?
2, besides me and Brett.
And who are they?
Randy White and Brandon, his brother-in-law, which I do not know his last name.
So what happened?
So I said no, and he started ranting and raving and basically turned it into an argument with Randy White, and they were going back and forth, and I didn't want to hear it anymore, so I said, please stop, because they didn't get along anyway. So it basically had turned into an argument with them, and I said...
Where was he sitting, in the front or the back?
He was sitting in the front seat, beside me.
Okay, go ahead.
And then we had arrived to Randy's boss's house. We had both got out of the car while Randy and his brother-in-law went upstairs. We were downstairs smoking a cigarette, and it was going to take a turn to get violent because he was saying threats and all this.
Against whom?
Against me.
Why was he threatening you? I thought he was having an argument with Randy.
The argument was with Randy, but I took involvement in it because Randy was a lot smaller than him, and I didn't want it to go there, so I stepped up in Randy's place, and then
And
basically...
what did you say to him?
I said, you need to stop all this right now or I'm going to make you walk home. And he said, you're not going to make me walk home, this and that. And
Had he been drinking?
Have I been drinking?
Had he been drinking?
No, I do not think he had been drinking.
It was just nasty?
Yeah, he was just nasty with me.
Okay, keep going.
And then Randy and his brother-in-law had come back down, and we all got in the car, and I said, I'm going to make him walk home because he's just being too defiant for any of us to deal with.
What did he say when you told him he was going to walk home?
He got even worse. But
Well, tell me what he said, Mr. Peck.
He was using a lot of cuss words, a lot of profanity, a lot of I'm going to everybody in that car, and just threats.
And that was on the 29th of December.
Yes.
What time?
I would say it was about 8 p.m.
Okay. Now let's fast forward a little bit, Ms. Powers. Tell me about the incident involving your tires. When did that take place?
December 30th.
What time?
I would say around shortly before 10, but not exactly. I don't know.
So tell me what happened.
Okay. It was a very, very stormy night. The wind was blowing and howling, and it was raining a lot. And the dog was circling the front door. And she was like yipping and barking, and she doesn't usually have that kind of behavior at all unless someone's at the door. But I opened the door and nobody was there. She kept doing it. So I opened the door again, and Mr. Spielman was standing on the other side of the car. My driveway comes up where the car is parked directly outside my front door, so I can clearly see it. And I said, what are you doing? Because it's kind of late to be coming over. And I thought he was coming to see my son, and just looked at me and took off.
Didn't say anything to you. Okay, keep going.
The next day I got up to go to work, and I, of course, didn't see the first tire because it was fine. Walked around the car and saw 1, 2, 3 tires flat. And so I called someone to come and take me to get new tires and called into work.
Okay, when did you see Andrew?
I saw him later that day.
Do you remember that day, Andrew?
Not too clearly. I remember her saying that 3 of my tires were slashed. Do you have any idea who would do it? And I said, I most certainly have an idea of who did it.
Well, I also...
Shut up!
Okay.
Don't speak. You said, I most certainly have an idea who did it.
Yes, regarding the incident.
And so you told your mother about the incident?
Yes.
And what did your mother say to you?
And then she said, I seen Brett in our driveway. I was thinking he would come up to get you, because at the time she didn't think I was enemies with Brett. And I said, well, that's who did it.
Okay. So when you said to her, I certainly do, and then she said to you, I saw
Brett in the driveway. And then we knew right there who it was.
Okay, good.
I just didn't think Brett would have done anything like that to me.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Spielman. Now I'm listening to you.
The statement's completely false.
Listen to me. Let's get to the car on the 29th of December.
Okay, cool. We were in the car.
Look at me. Don't look over there. You're in the car.
We are in the car. We do have a conflicting argument about something. Okay, marijuana. I do what I do when my time away from here.
Let's go slowly. You're in the car and you have an argument. You have an argument about what?
I really cannot even remember. Honestly, don't remember.
You just told me it was about marijuana.
If it was about marijuana, I'm saying I'm not denying that, because I do smoke marijuana on my pastime from time to time.
So that if Andrew says that the argument was about stopping to buy marijuana, that would be
It
accurate.
could have been, but it couldn't have been.
Well, if you don't remember, sir, then I have to credit Andrew's account of the evening of the 29th, because that would seem to be something that you would remember. Where do you live?
Sacramento.
And how far did you have to walk home?
I didn't walk home. See, that's where the story changes. He ended up giving me a ride home.
Did you ultimately give him a ride home?
No, I did not give him a ride home, Your Honor.
Okay. Did he threaten to leave you stranded?
Yes, he did, but it was raining pretty bad outside, so I kind of negotiated my way to get a ride home.
What do you mean you kind of negotiated?
Well, I said it's kind of raining out and I don't have a coat, and it would keep kind of messed up. I had to walk home.
Family for a very long time. How old are you now?
21 years old.
Currently on probation?
Juvenile, almost off. I'm going National Guard.
So the answer is yes, you're currently on probation.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been on probation?
Since I was like 17.
Keep going.
Okay. Are we still on the 29th, or are we going the 30th?
No, I'm past the 29th. I credit Mr. Geraldson's account of what happened on the 29th,
Okay.
sir. I believe he told me the truth. I believe you had an argument starting with Randy, ending up with Andrew, about your desire to stop at the person who supplies you with marijuana, to get some marijuana, and they didn't want to do it.
Though.
I'm speaking. And they didn't want to do it, and you became aggressive, and that's what the argument was about. So since you don't remember something that I probably would remember, but something that clearly you don't remember.
It was a year ago.
Well, I would remember, sir, a falling out that I had with a child.
He wasn't a very good friend. He always
Why don't you
bickered.
let me finish my statement, sir? Listen to the statement that I'm going to say to you. If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. Do you know what that means, Mr. Spielman?
Honestly, I do.
Tell me what it means.
It means if I know what happened, I don't have to remember. Look for the answer.
Right. That's what it means. So you're telling me it was over a year ago?
Over a year ago.
I'm speaking. And therefore you can't quite remember everything that happened that evening. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
So if you don't remember what happened on the evening of the 29th, which clearly, you know, you're in a car with people, there's a big argument, it's raining very badly, you have to negotiate your way back to the car in order to get a ride home. These are all little smatterings of things that you remember, right? Little smatterings of things that you remember.
Yeah.
You don't remember all of it, but you remember little pieces of it.
Most of it.
You remember most of it. So the argument was about marijuana.
Yes, it was. I feel
Perfect. Now that your memory has been refreshed, why don't you tell me about the 30th?
The 30th?
Look at me.
The 30th? Well, my mom can vouch that I was with her.
Don't ask your mom to vouch for anything, sir. I'm asking you.
On the 30th, I was at my residence from 6 o'clock in the night, and I fell asleep on my couch with my entire family with a movie night. The night before New Year's Eve, my mom volunteers at a local social club she's involved in on New Year's Eve, so we always are together on most holidays and that night usually.
Well, just a minute. I don't understand something. Does your mother volunteer her time?
I'm
speaking!
Well, you were.
Does your mother volunteer her time at a social club, sir, so that she's not home on the 30th, so the rest of your family gets together? Is that what you're just telling me?
No, the night before we all stay together because we're going to be separated on New Year's Eve.
So is what you're telling me, sir, that you were together with your mother and the rest of your family?
Yes, I am.
And if I were to ask you, you would tell me that your son was home with you?
Yes, ma'am.
That would be unfortunate. That would be unfortunate.
I'm sorry.
I have a couple of questions for you. What does he do for a living?
He's going to the National Guard. He's been working.
So the answer is he doesn't do anything.
He's not working currently, no.
And he's not going to school?
No.
And how long have you permitted that circumstance?
He's only not worked a few months. He's going...
A few months is a very long time, filled in on probation. What did he do before a couple of months ago? Who did he work for?
A company called Prologics.
What kind of work did he do?
Warehouse work.
And why did he leave that job?
They merged with another company and downsized.
So he got fired?
Laid off.
How many children? Did I ask you a question?
No, you didn't, but it's just making me sound worse than I am, you know? Be fair, too.
I don't mind being fair, sir, when people tell me the truth.
I'm honestly telling you the truth.
Oh, no, you're not. The sweat on your brow tells me you're not.
I'm on TV.
Did you see sweat there? Look. You see sweat there?
No.
There. Look at your mother. Is she sweating? You know why she's not sweating? Because I didn't ask her what happened on the 30th. That's why she's not sweating. If I asked her what happened on the 30th, I guarantee you she'd be, when I got finished with her, she'd be sweating. How much were the tires?
Our tires were popped, too.
I'm not asking you a question.
I have the invoice here.
Can I see it, please?
Excuse me, Judge.
Yes.
May I submit my receipt for towing?
Absolutely. I'd like to see it, please. So between the towing and the tires, you have $394. Is that right?
Roughly, yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $394. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you. You're lucky your probation wasn't violated.
Como sabe,